Yo, we are live here from the Optum RX protest. How you doing, Mike?
Good, Jeremy. How you doing?
I'm good, man. Yeah, it is. We're starting to have people come in. Everyone's organizing up there and marching down the street here in a bit. We're going to have speakers. We're going to have fun. If for those who don't know, who's tuning in for the first time, I'm Jeremy Counts, executive board member of PUTT, host of PBM on the Rocks podcast, and this is my good friend Mike. Mike, Business of Pharmacy podcast. Mike, a whole lot more smart than poor old Jeremy, but here I am. We're going to do this protest. We're going to have fun, and we're going to bring guests on. We're going to, go at it, everyone. But how you feeling today, Mike? Like, what is your general feeling right now?
Jeremy, I'm feeling good. I am in Grand Rapids, Michigan, and so I'm not in the heat of where you guys are right now. I wish I was there, but I think this technology brings me right there. So I'm thrilled to be with you guys today, and I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, it's going to be a blast. I arrived, and I was expecting it to be really cold because, to me, anything north of Roanoke is where it starts getting cold. Little did I know I traveled into 80-degree weather yesterday in this jacket, and I kind of have to have it for my entire Notorious FTC shirt ensemble.
There you go.
But it is Minnesota's beautiful. Like, I like it out here.
Yeah, I was gonna pick on you for being cold there, and I thought, I'm gonna get all over Jeremy. Then I saw guys back there with their Speedos on, and I thought, something's not clicking.
Yeah, that's it's pretty crazy. We went out yesterday and we had a fun dinner and cocktail hour and everything over at the Marriott, and then we went to this great Italian place and got together, playing the protest. We've got some great people out here. It's going to be a whole lot of fun. Hey, Andrew.
Yeah.
What was the name of that Italian restaurant?
Buca di Beppo.
What is it?
Buca di Beppo.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, it was awesome.
It was fantastic.
Yeah. Did you want to bring Bill on? Yeah.
Hey, Bill.
Hey, Bill. You want to come on? Yeah, we're going to bring our first guest, Bill, on.
Welcome, Bill.
Yeah, brother. Sit down.
Lord Jeremy.
Hey, Bill.
Hey, good morning.
Jeremy.
Introduce yourself. Tell everyone what y'all about, Bill.
Well, good morning, Bill, or Angry Dad from the social media sites. We lost our son earlier this year to the PBM greed tactics and all that stuff. On this mission today, this protest is a huge event, and I'm very excited to be up here. It's amazing, and I can't wait for the turnout. But the overall scope of things is this is one step in a longer process, but we're on our way, and I'm here to help that.
Yeah. Bill, that story is incredible. What you're doing now is incredible. I've had a lot of fun watching your social media, and I've had a lot of fun just in general coming out and hanging out with you. You are a blast, sir. And
Thank you.
We've been having a lot of fun out here, and it's one of those things where you can come out and have fun and still push very serious messages and still come out and make a difference in the world. And that's one thing that I like about what you're doing in your content creation is you're coming out, you're expressing yourself, you are creating things, and a lot of times it's really humorous, a lot of times it's really funny, a lot of times it's also straight up serious. And it's important to do that because it gets people engaged, and getting people engaged is one of the most important things that you could do in advocacy.
Well, and that's exactly what I aim to do with it. The PBMs are not an exciting topic. We all know that. And they're a very confusing topic. And,
purposefully so.
Yeah, exactly. There's their non-transparency. But, with the organizations out there that are pushing this movement, PUTT here in particular, and then the other one else that's out there, that simple media, some of my posts were around, comical, if you want to call it, absolutely, but it's realistic and it's easy to understand.
Yeah.
And career day, we've all been to a career day in our elementary days, and when you can see what a PBM does, a PBM manager does on career day, it is an eye-opening experience where you might be like kind of smiling, and then you're going, "What the hell is going on here?" So, and that's what I try to do with everything. This is very therapeutic for me, and we're going to get the change for everybody. I truly do live by the fact, my wife and I really do live by this fact, our son's now dead. It was at tactics that were out of our control. These tactics do affect other people, and we don't want this to happen again. And that's what we're living by here. So,
yeah. You mentioned Cole's Law.
Yeah.
Could you explain that to everyone?
Well, the reality is, Wisconsin, where we're from, has had some failed attempts at PBM reform. Last year, they came as close as they would ever for PBM reform, true PBM reform. And we're going to tag on to that. We're looking to reintroduce the legislation last year that did not get voted on in the end of the session last year for PBM reform. We're working with some senators to reintroduce the language, and we are going to look to change the bill title to Cole's Law. The language in AB 773 is exactly right around where we believe that the ethics need to be. And Cole used to fight for the little guy, and I think there'd be no better way to honor his legacy of getting the actual law named after him, so we can remember every time there's enforcement action or something happens, or when someone has a good day, Cole's Law helped with it.
Yeah, that's great. It's efforts like that I think will really make the difference. A lot of times it is a few individuals going out there and pushing these things and telling their story. That's how you resonate, that's how you get attention, and that's how we really get through to people to see what these practices are doing and how it's from people.
Yeah, well, and just speaking, I've been involved with this since January 21st of this year. We'll just say that, and that's the day our lives really opened up to the change we had to accept, and that was minus one family member, the most beloved, our first child, and the rage that creates, in addition to the severe just negativity of everything, and you wrecks every day that you live. But when we can find stuff to make it as positive as it can be, it's a great day, and the change is going to be that.
It is. Bill, brother, what is your goal as far as what you want to see today, what you want to see going forward? Kind of not even just today and going forward in the long game. Here this year, what do you see? What do you want to see accomplished?
Well, this year, today, we're not going to probably turn a big page here today, but just making sure that we're known, we're out here. That's one of the things that I love, and like I said, some of my social media, we've got some good exposure. The social media you guys are putting out, there's 100,000 people that know we're here today, and that's if not more than 100,000 people that actually know what we're here for. And as we can get a turnout here today, just to keep OptumRx reminded, there's people out here that are representing over 100,000 people easily that want PBM reform, and it's not a demise of the PBMs, it's getting some reform so we can have the PBMs perform how they're supposed to. That's what I want to see in the ultimate scheme of things, but that's not happening. So as we look into this year, we're going to be here today. I've got some trips planned to Washington, D.C. to do some more advocacy on the some bills that are kind of pushing through all the assemblies and houses right now. There's at least 4 that are there. There's another Auchincloss bills coming up after. That's the 996, and there's stuff that's already been through Senate Finance. And the reality is some of those earlier bills that were started in 22, 23 earlier around a lot of the meaningful reform, those would be the ones that I would see possibly happening this year a little bit. The big boy, and I'm going to call that the Auchincloss one, that's the one that kind of hits home for me the biggest, for you guys, with the pharmacies. I mean, I do see something very positive happening with that, and I'd say 24 could maybe be a good year, or 25, early 25, in my opinion. I might be way off. I don't know the politics, but it's looking like I don't see that one slowing down either, and we aren't going to slow down on the Aachen Clause either. That's one that once we get through Buddy Carter and everybody else and Senator Wyman and everybody who's put all their stuff and effort in there, we're going on to the next cause because it's not over.
Oh no, it's not over. This fight will never be over. We could wrench everything back away and take control and make sure that patients are taken care of, make sure that pharmacies are taken care of, and they're still never going to stop. There's too much money involved for them. They're not going to stop. So this is a fight that will continue forever this point. Yeah. Because we're up against a whole lot of resources that is impossible for normal people to match. We just can't. Even collectively as patients and providers together, we're not going to be able to match those resources. These are small states. These are small countries worth of wealth that we're up against, and it's hard to do that. So that's why it's important to have people like you, Bill, to come out and to do these things and to resonate, because that's the way that we get things done. Because we're not going to win a traditional battle against them. We've got to make ourselves heard.
Well, and
we're right.
Yeah, and exactly to what you're saying. I mean, these every day, it's a daily freaking occurrence of all this stuff, and the immensity of what they do. They get away with these irrational markups on this product. And then the pharmacy doesn't even make any money on the damn thing. That's a fact. That is a goddamn fact. Excuse my language. But I mean, like, Advair, Discus, Purple, 250 over 50, $66.16 on my insurance plan last year. If I wanted to pay for Advair this year, it's $538.19.
Yeah.
That's what happened to my son, too, by the way, because he had the exact same Advair, same insurance. I can factually talk about that cost because that's what happened to me. And that's what did happen to my son. But explain from $66 to $538. I don't see an improvement in the medication. I don't see anything better about it. I mean, unless, I don't know, maybe a rebate got canceled on it. I don't know, but I can't say that for sure either. But all I know is that it was $66 last year. It's $538. And now my son decided to pay rent or buy this overinflated drug. And unfortunately, it didn't go very well for him. And that's just one instant of many.
Yes. And the formulary games, the rebate games, all of that, it's hurting people. It's hurting patients. It's hurting pharmacists. It's hurting everyone. And unless we start to do something about it, it's going to continue and it's going to get worse. That's why we have to act. We have to act together. We have to push strongly, and we have to be fast because we're all running out of time. Yes. I mean, they're taking over everything. They're gobbling up physicians' offices. I wouldn't be surprised to see them start taking chunks out of hospitals soon. They're going to own the entire game soon unless we start doing something now. And that's why 9096 is so important, because it attacks every facet of abuse. It gives us a whole picture. It gives us a full game plan to where they can't wiggle free. They'll find something to wiggle free and, make their money, but this actually provides a lot of benefits to patients, and it locks in reimbursement for pharmacies, making sure they can survive. It is an absolute must-pass bill.
Well, and even to that, any of you look at the PBMs, top three control over 80, and you hear numbers of profit. I mean, everybody knows what profit is, and you're in the over $400 billion once the bills are paid, and now you got to pay the salaries or whatever the hell it is. There's room to be more reasonable, and that's the thing. Get rid of the greed. Make your money, still buy your yachts, you CEOs. There's no problem with that. Just don't be greedy about it.
Yeah, exactly. There's plenty of money to be had. We can take care of everyone right now, every single patient, and make sure pharmacies are paid okay, and they would still make a profit as processors, as companies that put formularies together. It's just greed. It is vertically integrated greed. It is gaming the system, and that's what we have to see ended. There's plenty of resources out there to share, insurance and PPMs. It's all about pulling everything together so that you can take care of patients whenever something pops up and it doesn't kill them.
Look down the street, what's coming right at us.
Oh,
it's
wow.
Be maybe 50 to 100 people coming with their signs in hand.
The protest is beginning. No, you're good. The protest is beginning, you all. We've got people walking down the sidewalk now. Everyone went up and met at the hotel, and now everyone's getting all rallied up. There's a few of us down here waiting. We're going to have speakers here at the podium soon. And we've got us a good crowd.
Hey, and I, as I've been putting on my social media, if you're in Eden Prairie, Minnesota, get here, get out, come to say hi, and that's all we can say. There's a lot of good people here, and looks like about 100 some more coming right now down the street. This is awesome.
Yeah, this is going to be great. I'm going to go ahead and give you all a shot of this. Yeah, turn it around there. Let me see. I'm not sure if you all can see it quite yet, but we've got quite a crowd coming down. You said what? No, it's good. Turn it back around to me. We'll get everybody here in a second.
They're coming. They're coming from quite a ways away.
Yep. We've got a wave coming. And Andrew, do we have a list of the speaker lineup? Yep. Coming up here, we're going to start off with our president, Deb Keaveney, PUTT president. She's going to give the welcome. Then we're going to have John Hoshin, a pharmacy owner. Then Bill, our dear friend here, is going to come on. John Farina of Hayes Healthcare Foundation. If you all have never met John, he is awesome. He is a lot of fun. We all had a blast last night. Julie Bach, the queen herself, Julie, is going to be here. Julie, absolutely fantastic person. Dr. Ken Engelhardt for Healthcare for All Minnesota. Senator Glenn Gruhagen is going to be on. Loretta, which you all know Loretta, founder of Unite for Safe Medications. And then we're going to have Dan Strauss, the founder of Patient Protector, come on. And then it's going to be an open mic for whoever wants to get up and give a speech. So everyone's coming down. They're about to cross the road. And we'll start beginning our speakers. And we'll kind of go from there.
All right, well, Jeremy, once again, thanks for doing all this stuff today. And,
Thank you for coming,
Bill.
Bill.
We'll be back and around, and have a good day.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Bill.
We'll go have fun. What's that? No, it's okay. They'll take care of that. But yeah, Mike, we've got quite the crowd walking down here. I'm going to give you all a shot here in a second. It's kind of weird where we're set up because it's no, not yet, Andrew. The angles are tough to get everyone come down the street, but we've got quite the crowd here.
If I had that many people walking towards me,
See,
you'd figure something's wrong, and I'm glad they're not coming at me and coming at United.
Yeah. Hey, what's
What a
up,
great
man?
looking group.
Yeah, I am.
What a great looking group.
Yeah, I know. Beautiful group. Hi, everybody. Oh, you're actually on camera just then. All right, you can turn it back, Andrew. Oh, no, keep going. Yeah.
That's a significant group. Way to go.
How are you? Oh, are you on?
Yep.
Oh.
Yep. We've got us a good crew. Oh, yeah. Excellent announcing. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, go ahead, Dewey. I'll be over there. Oops, it happens. Don't worry. Second time doing this.
I was waiting for that crowd to stop,
All
Jeremy.
right, everyone's
and
walking down the
there's
street
another,
toward Optum
there's-
headquarters right now.
There's another half behind the camera that we didn't see at first. So what a great crowd.
Let's see. Give me 1 second, Mike. I'm having some issues with my headphones.
And the rest of them we can carry around. I have some to carry around with us too.
Here, I need a different one.
But we can carry these.
Yep. Scoot it up a little bit, Andrew.
I'll take care of that.
Turn it to the right a little bit. There we go.
He's definitely here somewhere. I know, I saw him this morning.
It was nice to meet you. Nice to meet you. You guys, I know he set the schedule. Yeah, yeah. We'll be all to stay in touch. So. Take care. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Stanley Warren should do some Truth by Philip Morris campaign stuff. Have 10 lay down in coats, 9 red and 1 white, represent 1 in 10 pharmacies have closed this year alone thanks to Optum. That's a great idea, Stanley. Ben Jolly released the numbers on the study he was doing, and we were seeing, I believe the numbers were around 9 pharmacy closures a day, and that's
Yep.
not even capturing a lot of pharmacies that we would not been able to detect. So, I mean, it is a full-on crisis, and it's one that if we don't jump on immediately, it's going to get worse, and we're going to see the healthcare infrastructure of this country crumble. Like, if we don't have pharmacists, you're going to have entire communities that have nowhere to go. And sitting in on some of these like rural healthcare committees and listening to how they talk, they honestly, I think a lot of times they think that if they put more clinics in, that's going to somehow make it better. It's going to somehow ease the issue. But they don't realize that you can't have a clinic and it's doling out, 500 prescriptions a day. They can't handle that workload. So there's a huge disconnect between, I think, a lot of lawmakers, a lot of policy people, and the reality that is the healthcare system. And if we don't start supporting our pharmacies, we're going to be gone. And these patients, they're not going to be able to get care.
Yeah, and Jeremy, it's not like
What
it's
have
not
you
like
been seeing here lately?
well, it's not like the pharmacist is giving care and they're fighting against the PBM who wants to give their own kind of care, and you're battling that out. The PBMs are a middle person that takes the majority of the profit and doesn't give a lick of medical care to anyone. And so it's strictly, we want to give care on a balanced playing field versus someone who doesn't lift a finger to physically give the care.
Yeah, it's value extraction. They exist to extract value from the system, while we are here actually adding value to the system and dying. And that's not the way things are supposed to be run. You can't have a market. You can't have anything exist in that kind of environment. And we talk about realigning incentives, and we do need to realign incentives, but we can't put forward a lot of policies and just expect that the PBMs are going to act as good actors. They're going to find new and exciting ways to screw everyone. We can try to align incentives to make them behave better, but they're not going to behave better. That's why we have to lock it in. That's why HR 9096, the Pharmacists Fight Back Act, is so important. That comes in, it prevents steering, it prevents closed networks, it prevents price gouging patients, it requires rebates to be passed through, 80% going toward bringing down senior out-of-pocket, with 20% going toward keeping their premiums low. And then, of course, you've got pharmacy reimbursement, which is NADAC plus 2% or $25, $25 of the cap, plus the state dispensing fee. That's fair. That is a fair rate. And once you lock that in, it not only raises what independent pharmacies are getting paid so that they can survive, it also caps what a lot of employers and a lot of plans end up paying for their drugs. We see a lot of specialty and mail order abuse, and this takes care of that. We won't see these, $7,000 charges for $16 drugs. We won't see that anymore.
Yeah, and some of the questions.
Claudia is joining us.
Whoa.
Hey,
How is
Claudia.
it? Hi. Oh, can you hear
Hey,
me?
Claudia, how is Texas?
Oh.
Yeah.
It's amazing. It's really nice. Except I went to a mall that was closed and Julie yelled at me and said I was going to get kidnapped. So I had to go back to the resort.
A mall that's closed.
Yeah, it was not cool.
What were you doing in a mall that is closed?
Trying to get bronzer because I forgot some, but getting around this place is like stupid. I have no idea where I am ever. Like right now I'm walking outside. Why? Because I don't know where else to go. How's it out there at the Optum?
You're there for a conference, aren't you?
I'm here for Norm.
Gotcha. Yeah, it's good here. I've got a bit of an audio delay just because the 5G is so terrible here. But it's good. We've got a good crowd out. They're down the block right now, marching up and down. We're about to bring speakers on here in a little while.
Love that.
It's going to be a good time. Yeah, you can turn it back to me, Andrew.
Did you show Julie the video?
It's a good time. We got everything set up. Not yet. I'm going to bring her on and surprise her. She don't know about it yet.
I saw her Dr. Box.
Yeah, it's going to be fun.
I'm excited. I'm going to definitely be tuning in. I've been pushing everyone to make sure they subscribe.
Yeah.
Here, let me go on TikTok while I'm at it. Perks of having two phones. Where am I walking right now? Who knows? Maybe the border.
Into an abandoned mall. I hope so.
Okay.
Mark has an open invite to come on.
He better come on. I'm on TikTok now. Say hi, guys. Little phone versus big
Stanley
phone,
Warren
so-
says, when do we question the system as a whole?
We already do.
GPOs are already our next problem, even if the FTC regulates PBMs. Yeah, you're right, Stanley. And then Jeannie Scribner sent the bill text for 9096. Thank you, Jenny. But yeah,
Oh, there it
so
is.
what is your day looking like down there in patient advocacy land, Claudia?
Well, now they're going to do a bunch of like theatricals for different things. So I'm going to stay on the PBM protest because I don't want to go watch those. I already know what they are. And then I went up to one vendor and they were like, do you use Bessie? And I'm like, I'm pretty sure you guys blocked Julie on Twitter. And they were like, oh, Julie Bach? Yeah, we did. And I was like, yeah, I don't think much more should be said. Oh.
Yeah, we're not going to be friends.
Right. I was like, I don't think, like, that's my boss. So if you blocked her, I don't know how we do business together. But, you know, they're all salesmen.
Yeah. Yeah. Are you doing any presentations or anything down there? Or are you just kind of down to, be
Learn.
represented and be there?
Yes. Just kind of
Learn,
making a
yep.
impact.
Learning
you know?
experience.
Meeting people, making sure they're following C Money 636, the huge. Oh my gosh, I
Yeah.
was on TikTok
C Money
Live.
636. If you all don't follow Claudia's Twitter, yeah.
TikTok.
Everyone needs to follow Claudia on Twitter and TikTok. She puts some great content out there. Her and Dr. Bach have done so much throughout the years, and her and Julie continue to do things now. It is incredible what you all have done as far as content creation and patient advocacy, and it really is an inspiration in a lot of ways. You all have made me want to step my game up with a lot of things that I do. It's pretty incredible.
Oh my gosh, you're great. I think we all we're different. We're not your typical person sitting in front of the camera this is what we're gonna change, blah blah blah. We're this is what's fucked up, okay? We see it too.
Yeah. Exactly. And it's important because we need people like you. We need physicians. We need everyone together to come out and push against this, because that's the only way we're going to win anything. We have to all be together on it.
And the number of people that aren't even educated on what a PBM is, and they're it's all big pharma, and it's okay, but you have to go into depth of big pharma. Doctors only get 5% of your entire medical spend. Pharmacists are losing money because of GoodRx. We have different outlets.
Yes, it's ridiculous in a lot of ways. They've taken so much value out of the entire system, and they've left nothing for patients. They've left nothing for physicians. They've left nothing for pharmacies. We're fighting against, a tide, and it's hard to do, and that's why we all have to band together to do this and to fight. And Mike, some
hi,
of
Mike. I'm Claudia.
your shows, you bring
Hi,
on some of the
Claudia.
best guests.
Nice to meet you.
Have you
Nice
two
to
not?
meet you.
I thought you two had been on a podcast together before.
No,
you
but
were
we're
my
gonna
first
be.
podcast. Yeah, we are.
Yeah.
I'll email you over.
Awesome.
I'm going to track you down, Claudia.
Please, I'd love to have you on our podcast. Sorry, Jeremy, for stealing your person.
No, you're good. No, Mike is excellent. I like to bring Mike on whenever I can, because he has great viewpoints. He is a great guest to have. He's a great host to have.
Well, thank you.
I
That means
recommend
a lot.
everyone use Mike as much as possible. It does. I do not hand out praise easily.
Very kind. Thank you.
Oh, so
You are
how many
welcome.
people do you think are there?
We probably got, right now, going down the block, we've probably got around 70-ish. So it's turning out pretty good.
Are
There's
news
good
outlets
protest.
there?
You normally don't see. Oh, yeah, there's a few news outlets here.
Julie loves the news.
Whenever they
outlets.
come closer, I'll show the protest. Yes, she does. She is. You said what?
Senators here.
Oh yeah, we've got a couple of senators here. It's pretty cool.
No biggie.
Yeah. Yeah, getting them out and going. Yeah, no big deal. Just doing our stuff. But
Just hang
whenever they
out.
get closer, I'll show you all. They're gonna start. Yeah, they're gonna start doing their speeches and everything, and we're gonna have that mocked up and get that rolling, and then we'll come back in and kind of close everything out after all that's done, and keep covering it, because it's a blast. Having everyone get together is a lot of fun, and being able to get together and have fun and let our voices be heard, there's not much better than that.
I think you and I both like the sound of our voices.
Yeah, I very much like the sound of my own voice.
Same.
Mike, I know you have to feel the same way. You don't do the stuff that we all do unless you do like the sound of your own voice.
Well, here's the thing, Jeremy. It's I like the sound of my voice, but people have to tune in if they want to listen to it. I'm not, corralling, I'm not on the, school board and forcing my voice on people and stuff. It's I like to hear myself talk, and if people don't want to, they don't have to tune in. So I think it's fair.
That's a beautiful way to look at it.
Yeah, it's you do this to yourselves, people.
That's right. That's right. They're the only ones to blame.
I'm just out here being a sweet, innocent Jeremy. Y'all the one watching it. Like,
Right. I'm just out here
can't blame me.
Perfect. That's right.
Yeah.
and talking to my friends. I'm sorry you're eavesdropping. It's an AB conversation. See your way out. Count your way out. There you go.
Yeah.
Claudia, how do we find you on TikTok?
C_money, MONEY 636.
636. All right.
And here
anyone on
comes Andrew.
TikTok, make
Andrew,
sure-
let's get a shot of this. Bring it in. All right, here's one of the signs that was created. Swiss bank accounts,
Ooh. Oh no.
Irish vaults, PBMs dodging taxes, hiding billions in rebates, robbing American taxpayers since 1980. We got a whole bunch of signs.
That's fine. Because your health comes second to their profits. That's true.
Yeah, there's some great signs that people have made. We actually, I'll show you all this. We're having this, we're doing this in honor of Dr. Bob. We're having everyone at the protest come through and sign his jacket.
Sign my name for me.
Oh, we shall. And we're going to make this a tradition at our protest that people come and they sign Dr. Bach's jacket. We got 2 of them that we're going to fill up with signatures in honor of Dr. Bach.
That's amazing. That's absolutely amazing.
Yeah. Julie came and she's like, I got 2 of his white coats picked up from the dry cleaning. Do y'all want to use it during the protest? We were like, yeah. And Brittany's like, let's add some signatures to it. And we kind of came from that.
I love that. Has she cried yet? Did she do her eye makeup?
Oh no, she's not cried yet. She came in. She gave a speech here in front of the camera a little while ago. I'm gonna pull her on whenever I get a chance, and we're gonna show her the video. Which they are way down that block.
Oh my God, I almost passed out at the Express Scripts one. I had the microphone and I was just bouncing around like a jelly bean. And Julie's like, drink water.
Oh, you were all over the place on the Express Scripts protest. Like it was wild. That was the first time I met you all in person, you and Julie. So that was some fun stuff.
I think
I was
just
busy as hell, but I still got the. Yeah, y'all came up and said hello, and I'm just there. Like it was. I'm glad you all are here to help me with this because during that first protest, it was me nonstop for like 3 hours, and it's hard to talk for 3 hours even if you've got like a protest. So that was.
You can do it. I do it on TikTok all the time. I just talk.
Oh yeah. I mean, I could do it, but it was one of those things where it was like nonstop. My mouth was so dry at the end of it, which is not. I got the water. Lessons learned.
We all hate Express Scripts, Laura.
Yeah. We got some viewer comments. Oh, hey, we got quite a few. Fighting late-stage capitalism in healthcare. Martha Rosenberg, I agreed with Lord about value extraction. Lord Doctor, I have multiple titles to Martha. Lord. Thank you, though.
Can I get a Lord title? Like Lord Claudia?
I've told you before, you got to get drunk and just order a lordship. And then you surprise yourself. It's great.
I love that. Maybe I'll get you next time you're drunk and I'll be like, we could both be lords, Jeremy.
I've already got my lordship.
I know. And then you could just get a second one. I have to wait for you
get
to
a
be
second
wasted,
one?
though. For me, yeah.
Okay. Yes, I will buy you a lordship. Get me wasted and I'll spend $50. Get his cup? Oh, I've not seen his cup yet. No, I don't think so.
From CVS Specialty. They were doing engravings at the Patient Advocacy Summit. So I asked them if they do hashtag PBM reform, and they were like, that won't fit on the cup. And I was like, okay, could you do Angry Dad then? And they just kind of side-eyed me.
I gotcha. I'll ask him whenever he comes back. This is a huge campus. I don't know if anyone has been to Optum and United Health's campus, but it is gigantic. The entire first floor of one of their buildings is nothing but a giant gym. So it's good to know that all of my DR fees bought them all that exercise equipment.
You're keeping them healthy. So
Yes, I'm keeping
That's
them
right.
healthy and wealthy and living their best life.
Thank you
while
for that.
we all die.
Right.
Yes.
You know, blood on their hands.
What can I
but
say?
blood.
I'm a selfless man.
Sometimes I have to keep my mouth shut. I've learned that recently.
No.
You don't have to, Claudia.
No.
If they don't want to hear you, they don't tune in.
Yeah.
You're right. You're right.
Right?
I'm learning. Yes.
There you go.
It's just, when are we gonna get rid of insurance companies and just do direct care? And then, like in France, I went to the doctor and then I went to the pharmacy, gave them 20 euros, and got my medicine. The end.
Oh, look at this. PCMA just tweeted out, misguided anti-PBM policies would spend the market or up in the market and raise healthcare costs for patients and families. See how PBMs save an average of $1,040 per person per year. Fucking liars.
I would love to see it. How do we do that?
Pretty much. It's on their Twitter. They tweeted out a graphic that says PBMs work against Big Pharma's limitless pricing power to protect patients' access to affordable prescription drugs. Fucking liars. Fuck
Like
y'all.
what? And then that's all people see.
I promised Monique that I would try to keep it PG-13, but that just infuriates me.
Oh.
But yeah, it is insane. They tweet out this stuff. They pay for their own. Studies, and then they flaunt these studies as if it's real.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
They just have
it's
staff members fill it out.
oh yeah, it's propaganda. They've got people they keep on payroll, and they're just like, all right, here it is. You know what metrics to use because they make up their own metrics. They know that the metrics they use are complete bullshit, and they can say whatever they want. So they'll throw out these nonsensical studies, and then get idiots like Pat Toomey to come out and support it. And
need to
here we
start
are
doing
with
that,
like real
Jeremy.
data. I mean, we've got tons of studies and
Like-
data that show we're right and this stuff is happening. So
Yeah.
I mean, it's there. They have to have their own propaganda to confuse lawmakers and get the CBO to score things how they want.
God bless.
I was screaming at my screen during the last hearing with the
Yep.
Judiciary Committee. Oh my God. I much preferred the other committee hearing when they all got yelled at. But
Oh my God, yes.
some of the nonsense they were talking. And Joey, I like you personally, Joey. God, you had an opportunity to really go in. And I've talked to Joey about this. A lot of people, they need to seem like they're neutral or whatever, but this is not a neutral topic. Like, there's a
No.
clear bad side to this.
Yep.
And we don't have to sit around and try to act like there's a ton of nuance and, well, let's talk about the nuance. We do need this or we do need that. I don't care. Like, there is one clear side that is wrong in this. There is one bad actor in this situation. Well, not one. It's their entire side.
Jeremy,
And
it's hard
whenever
to say something's balanced when people are getting paid below their cost. Something's wrong there.
No, yeah. We're not being valued. Like,
No.
there's no, like, you can't trust a market that's run by your competitors to value appropriately in that market. It's just not how it's done.
We had a customer come in the other day, and we had spent like an hour on their stuff. It was a new customer, and I think the insurance, their copay was like 18 cents, and that's what we got paid. And I could imagine the conversation. It didn't happen, but I can imagine the conversation where we would say, we spent an hour on this, and they'd said, how much did they pay you for that? And we'd say 18 cents, and they'd say, well, you're lying. You didn't spend an hour on that, only made 18 cents. Something's you're not telling the truth there, but that's how broken it is. That truth has broken down.
I mean,
Oh,
all
yeah.
these advocacy events are sponsored by CVS Specialty, Optum RX, and I'm like, it's brilliant on their part because they're acknowledging it. And they're like, here, have some fun. Here's a little money. Have some fun. We see you. We know we're not scared of you, but we see you. And I'm just kind of like, why are we letting them sponsor this?
Yeah. it's one of those things where APHA, whenever I see that like CVS has sponsored one of their things, I'm just like, you're taking money from the people that are killing your profession. What are you doing? Like, that kind of stuff drives me insane. That's something that I feel like all of us in advocacy should start calling out. We need to
don't accept the $4,000 trip.
Yes. Maybe not go at them so publicly. Give them a chance first. Tell them behind the scenes, you need to straighten this up. You're being funded by bad actors, and it looks bad.
I feel like
but when they don't respond, then
if you're an advocate, you're fully aware that CVS Specialty, Accredo, Optum RX are the bad guys. If you're not aware of that, you should probably get your head out of the sand.
Yes.
I came across.
I think we. Go ahead.
I came across an article. I was at work the other day, and it was some Michigan legislator talking about how great PBMs were and why they were needed and things like that. And I told one of my staff, I said, go look and see who's giving money to this guy. And he comes back about 2 minutes later. He said, he got $1,000 from such and such place. I'm like, well, there you go.
Yeah.
Follow the money.
It's always just follow the money. Whenever you look at a lot of PBM abuses and how they're structuring things, and when they're saying that they're saving money, or they structured this way to make sure that people were getting the right therapy and the plan sponsors were receiving the most value, all you got to do is follow the money and where it's getting paid out. When you start looking at aggregate bulk data, that's where they really like to mislead people, because they can make a lot of that seem whatever they want. They'll make employers seem like, oh, their drug spend's going up, just like at the rate of consumer goods as far as inflation, when in reality it's going up far more than drug spend should, because drug inflation is different than regular inflation, and they will pay out themselves far more than regular pharmacies while squeezing us, so that drug spend increases at that rate while they're retaining that rate and cutting into us. So they're just finding more and more margin. Yeah, more and more margin every year.
Yep.
And they talk about, well,
for sure,
we're creating competition and we're driving down costs. They're not. They're dictating the entire market. And whenever lawmakers and regulators and everyone else expect that they're going to act any differently in the future by giving them more chances and realigning incentives, they're not going to act there.
No. Once someone shows you who they are,
believe
them the first time.
Yes, exactly. So they're going to continue to do this. They all need to be broken up. PBMs, as far as their existence, we need people to make like formularies and stuff. They can act as like a fiduciary, an advisor, like someone who processes prescriptions. They put formularies together. They do that kind of stuff. But as they exist right now, they can't exist anymore. Like it has to end. All of it has to end.
Jeremy, I've thought of it somewhat like Visa or MasterCard. They're needed. We need someone like that to process things, but they're needed at a percentage scale for the service they're giving, not to swipe, all the money off the top.
How do we trust someone with that power, though? I mean, how do we know we're not going to end up with the same thing? You give someone the power, they'll take advantage of it.
No, I mean, that's the thing is, as far as how they operate and their underlying, I guess, purpose as far as formularies and processing, they can do that. We could also get other people to do that. We could also just have employers do it themselves, and they'll save a ton of money by not having to pay all these fees. West Virginia, most of all the money that they saved, it wasn't just changing how they paid pharmacies. The money they saved, it was 50-some million in that first year. It was just PBM fees alone, $50-some million saved. That's how much they come in and they nickel and dime for every single thing they can. Those DERs that we've got to constantly try to put through that are complete like BS that pop up every month, I mean, they use that as a metric. They love to use that kind of stuff and charge and say, look at what value we're bringing. Look at all of these interventions we have. When it's not real. None of it's fucking real.
No.
No.
You said what? I can't hear you, Andrew. Oh my goodness! Andrew, turn this. They turned the sprinklers on the protesters.
My God.
Optum has turned the sprinklers on the protesters. You dickheads!
Is
You
it hot out at
dickheads!
least? Is it hot? Are they doing a nice service?
I mean, it's not super hot, but you know, it's whatever. Optum has turned the sprinklers on.
We love Optum. Thank you so
Yeah.
much.
Thank you,
I was
Optum.
worried Julie was going to overheat, and I'm glad they stepped in.
Turn around. Yep. Shout out to Eden Prairie Police Department, by the way. They've been awesome in all this. Actually, shout out to a lot of our sponsors. Eden Prairie's not police department's not a sponsor, but you know what I'm saying. American Pharmacies, APCI, Data Scan, who sponsors me personally. Shout out to every single one of you all. Shout out to everyone who came through here, including Claudia coming on, Mike, you coming on, Julie, Bill, everyone else that's here to support.
Yeah.
Like this kind of stuff. This only happens because of everyone being just so dedicated, like
The
to fly out to
sprinklers.
Minnesota. Yeah, the sprinklers. I'm glad they did that. Thank
Their
you
water
for
bill is
that.
going to be atrocious.
AIDS Healthcare Foundation. Big shout out to AIDS Healthcare Foundation.
Hi, AIDS Healthcare Foundation.
They are awesome. They teach you how to protest. They are a lot of fun. And they were a lot of fun whenever we did the cocktail hour and dinner and stuff last night. It was a blast. Oh, Pisney. Pisney, New York Pharmacists. You all have a great organization in Pisney. Like, it is such a great organization. I love working with them. I love their members. They come out to these things, and we all have fun.
Yep.
Like, New York Pharmacists, they're a different breed. I like them a lot. Oh, yeah, and shout out to the Mindies.
Oh.
Minnesota
And
Independent
OptumRx.
Pharmacies. Yep.
OptumRx. Thank
Yeah,
you.
shout out to OptumRx for those sprinklers. Thank you. Very cooling to my skin.
You know, right.
Oh, that is
my gosh.
beautiful. All right, everyone's about to cross the street again. I believe we're going to have speakers come on. So everyone will come in and do that. I'm going to try to pull Julie on real quick so that we can show her the video.
And then I can
Andrew,
say
get
hi.
that. Yep. They're crossing the street now. I'm going to bring Julie. Get Julie and have her come on. We're going to bring Julie Bach on, say hi to Claudia, and we're going to show her a tribute that I've made for
it's
the
beautiful.
late Dr. Bach. I'm a fan of it.
When do we want it? Now.
I got really like teared up and stuff working on it. It was pretty crazy.
That was the first time I'd cried over like a video, and it was beautiful. I was sitting there, I was like,
More signs, guys. How many people we
be
got
strong.
today? 900, 800?
Oh, we got.
Oh, run
we're
to
at
the store and
173
grab a
right
slip
now.
and slide to play
Yeah.
with sprinklers.
I'm going to be famous like you one day.
Yeah. Grab a slip and slide to play in the sprinklers. That is
I
actually
love
a great
that.
idea. All right. Let's see. Oh, Julie is still over across the street.
She does.
We're gonna start getting our
doesn't
speakers
back
on.
down. She does not back
No,
down.
she does not back down. Do not back down. All right. All right. All right. We're about to get our speakers on. I will go ahead and switch this over, get the mic all up, and we'll go from there.
I'll mute myself.
I'll see you all in a bit.
All right, Jeremy.
All right.
Oh, we all need water. Oh, there's water.
Did someone ask if they need water? They just had sprinklers.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we got sprinklers.
I just got it from the faucet.
You didn't see the security guards come in and steer us away. I can have a warm one. Thanks, man. I'd like one more. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
coming.
Absolutely. That was last time. So wonderful. Yeah, too. The shelves in there so that we can hide it in there.
All right.
Thank you. Is it okay to move?
Yeah, go ahead. I'm just going to move the microphone over that way.
Okay.
Oh wait, Monique, you need help?
Yeah.
What do you want to? What do you want me to do?
What do you want me to do? Extension cord for the battery.
Hey, Jeremy, do you have any sunscreen?
What's that?
Do you have any sunscreen?
I don't. I should have brought it, though.
I know.
That's a good idea.
Man in a leather jacket.
I mean, he's in like a bee suit.
I got to keep my thing.
Jeremy, close up the buckle at least.
Yeah.
Close the belt.
Oh, look who's here.
Who?
Yeah.
Hey. Ho.
Patrick Conway must be go.
Hey.
Ho, ho. PBMs must go. Hate you, United Health Cartel, and all of the harm you bring to our patients, your members. You sent down the old Optum thugs. They issued us a warning.
Yeah.
Check out my Twitter. I love a warning. What are you going to do? Cancel me? Okay. Go ahead. Go ahead.
All you've done is encourage her. After the speeches, come on. I'm going to bring you on as a guest. We got Claudia on right now.
Oh, she's on right now?
Yeah. Actually, here. I'll just go later for you.
Claudia's on
Julie.
right now?
Thank you.
Oh my God, I love that.
They brought me a thing.
Where's my Claudia?
Just need any promotion.
I know. I said for later.
Hi, Julie.
Does my hair look okay?
You are now host of PBM on the Rocks.
What's it on?
Oh, wait. There we go.
Good morning.
How'd you like the sprinklers?
There's a little bit of a delay.
Oh, I love the sprinklers. How did you like the thugs at Optum RX saying, we are issuing you a warning? Mr. Big Dick. Okay, got it.
What was Julie? What was their warning? Was it an empty
Their
warning?
No, they've got a bunch of thugs, like with this, their big muscles, going like this. They got their own lunchbox, they got their water. They're going to be here all day. Their warning was, you are trespassing on private property. So
Ow.
we just backed it up a little bit.
Sure.
I said, send Dr. Patrick Conway down here, the chief drinking officer, the chief medical officer, but he's probably sleeping off a Thursday night hangover.
He's sleeping off.
I know
the
I
view.
am.
They trespass on my bank account all the time.
Show you something that I
Come on, Patrick.
That was good.
I got something special for you. Let's do shots, Patrick. Fiddlesticks. And I love myself some Jeremy. My personal spirit animal. There he goes. There he
Hey.
goes. Yeah, he just did. Yeah, he did. I love myself some Optum Pharmacists. I love myself some PUTT. These people are doing God's work, and I'm standing right behind them doing the same thing. What they're doing matters. Every one of us is a patient. Every one of us has been harmed by a PBM. And I'm looking at you, Optum RX, CVS Caremark, and my most hated Express Scripts, headquartered in St. Louis, Missouri. So am I. Come on down. Express Scripts, and we can drink too.
She's wonderful, isn't she? Julie, I wanted to show
Way to
you
go.
a video I put together
Okay.
in honor of Dr. Boss.
Am I going to start crying?
Yes.
All right. Well, if we're going to do this now, I can do a non-ugly cry.
This protest
You already
is in
got
honor
sprinkled
of
on,
Dr.
Julie.
Boss, and I put this together. It took me all day
I love that, Joe.
the other day, and I got some stuff from Claudia, and I put some stuff by myself and kind of threw this together.
And are your listeners going to see this?
They sure are.
All right, let's do it.
This protest is in honor of Dr. Bach, you all, and I made this video for it.
Well, when I met Julie, I was at University of at St. Louis U, and I was single, and I was out on the night of the Tyson Spinks fight. My friend started talking with this little group of girls, and he came back to me and said, "Hey, there's these girls are going to go see the Tyson Spinks fight. Why don't we go with them and do that?" So I ran home, changed my clothes, and went to Fridays. The other one was not Fridays.
The other one was Houlihan's
Houlihan's.
at Galleria.
Yep. So we went to Fridays and walked in, and I saw Julie sitting at the bar, and she was just sitting separate from the rest of the group. So I didn't even know if she was one of the group that they had talked to. But I walked up and introduced myself, and turned out she was part of the group. And we traveled 2 blocks and went into a condo area and sat in the backyard of a condo in one seat on a sofa, and Julie ended up sitting in my lap. And we watched the Tyson Sphinx fight, which lasted 30 seconds. It was a one punch, and the guy fell down and never got up again. And that started our relationship.
Well, and we had never worked together before, and I'd never worked in medicine. I've had some rather big jobs, but I'm a doer. And so I think one of the things that's been really successful is to take his great patient relationships, and I have been able to elevate the patient experience to that of a consumer who has a choice. We treat patients like we want to be treated. Every one of my staff that works there, they want to be there. We treat them well, and therefore they treat our patients well. We're going to care for you. We're going to listen to you. We're going to treat you well. And that allows us to help a lot of patients.
But the classic, the biggest problem we struggle with is people who have insurance and they do not have the funds to pay for some of the drugs that are really key for good outcomes.
Express Scripts could be certifiably bad.
We just do what we can do.
And we do it with a smile.
Because when things go well, there's plenty of reasons to smile. Yeah.
I'm sobbing.
Reimbursing pharmacists for as little as 75 cents on a prescription. They lose money on almost everything.
They're going good. Now they're doing a bunch of like theater things, but I'm like, we're like, I'm crying, and it's the second time I watched it. Love you.
All right, everybody. I'm Deborah Kevaney, president of PUTT, Pharmacists United for Truth Transparency. Also the founder of Mindy's, Minnesota Independent Pharmacists, and I own a drugstore in Winstead, Minnesota, Kevaney Drug. I want to welcome everybody here. It is a beautiful day. We need to keep the pressure on the PBMs. Is that better? Okay, sorry about that. Beautiful day. Thanks for coming. It's really important that we keep shining the light on the PBMs. Optum happens to be in my backyard, so I am very pleased that everybody is here to shout out and try to get their attention. So I'm going to turn this over to Monique Whitney. She is our Executive Director of Pharmacists United for Truth and Transparency.
Thank you, everybody. Can you hear me okay? Great. I'm only on for a few seconds because we've got a fabulous lineup of people who've got something to say, and when they are done, you are invited to say something as well. We're going to open up this microphone. We are talking to those people over there. Those are the people that have caused the problems that we are protesting today. So I just want to take a moment and first of all say thank you to all of you who are here. I want to start by thanking Healthcare for All Minnesota. Thank you for being here. I want to say thank you to the AIDS Healthcare Foundation. They are the inspiration for our protests. Thank you, thank you, thank you. If you like that United Doesn't Care sign, check out what else they are doing. I also want to say thank you to IPA for being here. Thank you to PISNey for being here. I want to say thank you to them. Peer, thank you for being here. The Minnesota Farmers Union, thank you for being here. Your fight is our fight. I want to say thank you to the patients who are here. It's extraordinary. If you are out here as a patient, thank you. I'm a patient. I want to say thank you to everybody who's traveled from any part of the country to be here. We have several states represented. I am representing Arizona. In Arizona, we've got Satan in our backyard.
New Jersey! Michigan!
Yeah, let's hear it. Tennessee, Michigan.
Ohio! Where we love our pets.
Oh my gosh, ladies and gentlemen, this is why we keep them around. All right, so I am gonna now turn over to our first speaker. I'd like to introduce pharmacy owner John Hession. Thank you. I apologize for mispronouncing your name. Please come on up, John.
Thank you all for coming out, and I know that there's probably 120 other pharmacy owners that would love to be here today that can't because they're in the trenches caring for patients. Despite what these, I won't even say that, are doing to them. But, the reason I'm here today is to draw attention to this and just shed more light on it. Patients, have been put in situations where they're paying more because these guys are requiring a brand name instead of a generic that's available at 1/10 of the price so that they can reap more profit from it. I mean, every decision they make is a money decision. It has nothing to do with people anymore. And, people go without services they need for their greed. And it's just an absolute atrocious situation we're in, and it needs to stop. And the investigations, the studies, the research has been done that these entities, Optum RX and other corporations like them, have done nothing to save any of us money. Whether you're an employer, a patient, an employee, a government person, they haven't saved a dime. In fact, they raised costs beyond what inflation ever could have done, and it needs to stop. And so the FTC and the Department of Justice, the investigations have been going on, and they keep asking for more information. And I'm here today to say that all of that needs to come to an end, and we need to take some action. So Amy Klobuchar, she's the anti-monopoly, supposedly the anti-monopoly horse that's supposed to carry this thing. We need some action. We need some action, and we need it now, because otherwise we're going to have no providers left to take care of patients. And when that situation is a reality, it already is in many parts of our state and the rest of the country. Patients are going to die, and that is happening. And that is not something I want to be part of. And so, thank you all for coming today. Thank you for your support. These are just the beginning steps of this. We need patients involved. We need providers involved. We need employers involved. We need everybody that consumes healthcare or will at some point in your life to get involved in this. Because if we don't, they're going to take it from us, and it's going to be very, very difficult to get back. And we're not, some people think, well, that could happen in the next 20 years. My gut tells me in the next 5. If nothing serious changes, the next 5 years, we will have no control of our healthcare system whatsoever.
That's right.
So, thank you all.
Thank you. Okay, so very real cost are the lives of those we love, and so it is with tremendous joy and also tremendous heartbreak that I will introduce our next speaker, Bill Schnittnick, and I apologize because I know I just butchered your name, and Dewey, if he would like to come up. We are.
The garage floor right
Yeah.
now. Thanks, Dr. Conway.
All right.
Sir, thank you. Be loud and clear.
Thank you, everybody, for coming out today. Obviously, the comments before me are just so truthful. They're so truthful, and what now? Grandpa, come up. So let's introduce. I'm Bill Schmitnick, Angry Dad on TikTok, every social media platform. This is Cole's grandpa, Dwayne, and he was a huge part of Cole's life as much as a father I was to him. And we are both hurting from Cole's loss and the greed of this company possibly behind us here, and we are going to help do change. I've never been involved in politics. Didn't really know what a PBM was till about February 3rd of this year. I have felt the experiences of PBMs my whole life dealing with asthma, and when Cole got diagnosed with asthma when he was 2 years old, we really still kept feeling the step processes and try this and try that, and it's just, and it's finally what ended up taking his life. Simple as that. It was greed. And I'm not a mathematical guy, but when you pay $66.18 for an Advair discus in 2023, and you're still with Optum RX the next year, and you get told $538.19. I mean, that's fucking greed. That is greed. And that caused my son to make a decision. Do I pay for a prescription today that I used to be able to afford, or do I pay my rent? 6 days later, it really proved to be a terrible decision. And we got to live with that the rest of our lives. We are not going to let his legacy die off. He was a person for the little people. He was quirky. He was amazing. And he said please and thank you. And my mission, I don't want to be selfish, but I always say my mission, my wife's mission, whatever, it's our mission. Me and my wife, Shannon, which she's home because we have another son and we can't all be everywhere, of course. And our mission from day one, when the dust settled after the celebration, we said, what the F just happened? And our first thing was we can't let this happen again to somebody else. And we live by that. We stick with that. That's why I spend every day of my day right now working with PUTT, NCAP, PBM Accountability Project. And if I'm not working with your group, I'd love to. Got some great support around this country. I will, along with that support, we've had some PSAs come out. There's commercials flying around the country in Washington, D.C. in select target market areas of my wife and I of Cole's story, urging Congress to pass some meaningful legislation. There's so many bills going right now, it's almost crazy. And like I said, I'm new to this. I don't understand everything. I do know the basics of passing a bill and the hurdles and all that stuff. But we've got bills that have hit some of those challenges that I'll be going to Washington, D.C. next week and meeting with legislators. We fly in on Tuesday and we're there till Friday. I've got meetings at the White House, Capitol Hill, all around there. I'm just a grieving parent. I'm not a politician, and that's a fact. But I can be very motivated to do more than what I should do, and I learn real fast. We'll just say that. We will be having meetings with Senate staff or Congress staff that are right around every single bill, from like with Buddy Carter and Senator Wyman and all that kind of stuff. But I also have a special meeting request into the Department of Justice based off of the FTC, the House Oversight Committee. I don't know if it's going to go anywhere, but and from NCAP just shot me an email. We canceled lunch on, well, wait, that's a different one. That's Auchincloss. But there's all kinds of good stuff like that going on. But the DOJ, I'm going to be up there as a grieving parent asking for charges against certain people who may have lied under testimony. I'm going to be there in front of them. So. Yep. Bill Schmitnick, B-I-L, and my wife is Shannon, S-H-1-L, and Shannon is S-H-A-N-O-N, 1-N. And get ready, Schmitnick, S-C-H-M-I-D-T-K-N-E-C-H-T. And Cole, C-O-L-E, is my son.
And where are you from?
We're out of the Madison, Wisconsin area, Poynette, Wisconsin to be exact. Poynette, Wisconsin, yep, we're close to Madison.
Cole was 22 years old. Yeah, just moved out on his own. Cole battled depression for many years and kind of got to a good spot in his life after playing the step process. I can't believe I'm even saying that. Switching this insurance to this insurance, because once we found what worked for him, guess what? Well, new insurance, we got to start all over again. And long and short of, he was in the best place of his life after beating depression, and got shot down in the middle of his life. And a great time of his life, living with a best friend from elementary school, doing his thing, dancing at the clubs, gaming online, and working full time. It was Advair steroid. Yeah, the price got changed from 2023 to an absorbent price in 2024, and he couldn't afford it. Yes, daily steroid medicine. Maybe I'm saying that wrong, but that's what we call it. So.
Last thing was Optum, PBM?
We do have Optum as our pharmacy benefit manager. Yes.
And so they made a change that led him to not.
I have been told, this is not my opinion, I'm treading just lightly, and I hate to do it because I don't even want to be that way. I want to be as transparent. Long and short of it is, OptumRx is our PBM. They modified the cost of Cole's steroid medicine from 23 to 24 to an absorbent amount, and as far as we know, he was never notified prior, and the night that it happened, he was never offered any further option than you can pay cash for this or not have it at a large chain pharmacy, which I'm not going to name at this time, but they did not push anything further, and like somebody might do at an independent pharmacy, in which I experienced myself when I had the same road blockage.
So OptumRx was the PBM led by Dr. Patrick Conway, Chief Medical Officer.
Yeah, that's everything I hear. It's Patrick Conway. He's in charge of Optum, and there's two other big boys out there. And my experience is with Optum. Cole's experience was with Optum as the pharmacy benefit manager. And all I can say is that, you're going to sit there and hear all this counter against what we're doing from some organizations. Is it PCMA, I think, or something? What a bunch of fucking liars. Excuse my language. It's bad. I have proof. I have documented proof. I have a death certificate that says there's greed going on. And they say they don't mark shit up excessively. They don't do this. They don't do that. They don't steer. I have the proof. And you all got some too. I mean, the voice is here. Today's a great day. We're going to continue rocking and rolling this thing. And like I said, I haven't been battling this like you guys have for all these years. I'm an impatient, mainline business guy who worries about gross profit and to keep my customers happy. So at least I know about the customer side of things, and I understand GP, but I have no time for hesitation, and let's take our time. I'm going to get used to it, but we are going to make some change this year. There will be, I don't want to give any false hope, but everything I'm hearing, 24 will bring a little bit of something, followed up by Auchincloss, and that's the federal level. Wisconsin, I'm going to stick on my mission for Cole's Law. That's they had an assembly bill last year that never made it to a vote. That was it was gutted, and yeah, but we need Robin Boss to quit playing Republican and play just humanitarian and call something to a vote that has 105 supporters between the House. And we'll try to reintroduce that this year. Very same language as it was AB 773, I believe. The language in that bill we want to try reintroduce again this year with some of our colleagues I'm starting to work with. And we're going to bring Cole's Law to the state of Wisconsin. Quite honestly, I'd love to do it nationally, but we'll see where it goes. Yeah. Well, we're trying, and I got some great people pushing for us. From PUTT to, like I said, the other two organizations. And most importantly, the one thing that brought me into this mission, who identified the mission, it was my independent pharmacist at Hometown Pharmacy in Lodi, Wisconsin. On a Saturday, 12:45, they close at 1, my wife stopped in to pick up my Advair. And coincidentally, the same thing happened to me that happened to my son. We're on the same insurance, didn't even think about it, just all the whirlwind. Long and short of it, she had to call to get a step process started because she took the extra steps, blah, blah, blah. And after that all got done, I get a phone call from her asking, after she learned about us, holy shit. She had an opinion that she wanted to share with me. And that opinion was so strong about maybe what happened with Optum and my son that she wanted to introduce me to a gentleman named Dan Strauss. He is the co-founder of Hometown Pharmacies and Patient Protector. I've joined with Dan and his family. PatientProtector.us is our website. We're starting to actually get some Google hits now if you just Google it, but it's still little. We're not big yet, but it's a very impactful website. I personally work on the website myself. I don't know how to do websites. Thank God for click and paste, but we have a website person. His daughter helped with it, but now we're up and running. We've got a lot of good activity on there. We got education. We got submit your story and how you can change things. So there's a lot of good organizations. Truth.org. Everybody out there. We're in the mix now. But Patient Protector is where my home's going to be, and I'll come play at everybody else's home too. But Dan Strauss and I are going to take Patient Protector to the next level, and we're going to continue on. So. I know I just rambled, and I think I'm supposed to have 3 minutes, but thank you.
Let's hear from Dewey. Yes, Dewey, get up there. Come on, Grandpa.
I just want to say thank you. I'm Cole's grandpa.
Yeah, you are.
Who I love very much. I'm sure there's some grandparents in the audience here that you never believed that this could happen. And after he passed and I found out why he passed, now I'm just damn angry. And I'm going to do whatever I can to help this cause along, and hopefully someday we'll get it fixed so that it doesn't happen to another grandparent. That's all I want. So thank you all for everything.
Thank you. Just real quick as we move on, we have water. Please don't feel like you have to stand out in the sun. We've got some shady spots here. Please feel welcome to move in and out of the shade and the sun as we are having our speaking program. I don't want anyone to overheat out there. So our work today, our work always is dedicated to patients like Cole and to the families who have to deal with the loss. Our protest today is also dedicated to one of the fiercest fighters for PBM reform I ever met, and I've met a lot. We lost Dr. Stephen Bach not long ago, and it was devastating. I was actually here in this city when I learned about it. We love him. We loved him, and we love him. And we are so honored to have Julie Bach here. And I'd like to ask her to come to the podium and say a few words as well. If you want to be inspired, we've got some inspiring advocates here. This lady and her team are that. So, Julie, if you could just come up and take a couple minutes here for us.
Hello. I'm going to put my glasses on so if I do the ugly cry, it won't be quite as ugly. My name is Julie Bach. I'm the practice manager and bathroom monitor at the Arthritis Center in Bridgeton, Missouri. I care for poor people, and we treat them like concierge patients, and I have 3,000 patients, 1,000 on infusion therapy. They're all buy and bill. I have 24 support staff to support one physician because of the administrative burdens of the PBMs, and I'm looking at Optum Rx, I'm looking at CVS Caremark, and I'm looking at Express Scripts, which happens to be in the same damn town that I'm in. These PBMs are making money off the backs of every one of us. Every taxpayer, every patient is getting the jam job from a PBM. Dr. Bach was a tireless advocate. He was an amazing rheumatologist, and we lost him 3 weeks and 2 days ago, if anyone's counting. I am. At least he didn't die at the hands of Optum. I am here and not laying on the floor in my office in the fetal position because I believe in what you people are doing. I believe in Jeremy. I believe in PUTT. I believe in Dan. I believe in Cole. We have to change how we do business in 2024. Don't take my independent pharmacies away from me. Don't take my independent physicians away from me. We're doing the fucking work. We do the work. You skim the profits. You siphon the direct patient care dollars, healthcare dollars away from the patients.
We have work to do. We are going to get this done. It's going to be a little hard in Missouri because most of our representatives and senators are on the take from from Express Scripts. You know, they're probably going having a Thanksgiving dinner over there. But I will go down fighting. I will go down fighting for our patients. And one of the things my husband said was, find and keep a place for my patients. I'm carrying on his practice. I have a locums doctor in there now. I have a new doctor coming in November. I will continue to do the work of the great Steve Bach, and I will support all of the advocacy efforts. Please, Optum, send that jackass Chief Medical Officer, Chief Drinking Officer Patrick Conway down here. Make this make sense. Make Cole's death make sense to us. Every one of us is a patient. Godspeed.
Amen. Thank you.
Thank you. And so I'm also pleased to introduce John Farina from the AIDS Healthcare Foundation. They have been doing this longer than anyone else I know. They are the best at bringing anger and humor together for an important cause, and they do it beautifully. John?
Thank you. Let's hear it for Monique and all the great work that she does. And following Julie, now I know how Barack Obama felt when he had to follow Michelle. So yeah, AHF, the AIDS Healthcare Foundation, we have been on this fight for a long time. We've seen the corporate greed, not only in PBMs, but in big pharma and insurance companies and so on. So, you know, we've been challenging this and trying to hold these companies accountable. These horrible stories that we're hearing are because these people in those buildings over there, and not necessarily all the kind of employees, but their bosses, the executives, right? The board and the executives, they want to see more money in their pockets. They want to see their stock portfolios grow. They want to make sure their shareholders are happy, but they do it at the expense of all of us and of people like Cole. And so we can't let that happen, and that's why we're all here. And boy, are you pharmacists a rowdy group, let me tell you. And I can't imagine, because when I look over here, you know, and I see these unpleasant people are taking your business away, your livelihoods, they're hurting your families, they're hurting your communities, and they don't care. And so that's why the AIDS Healthcare Foundation has taken up this fight around PBM greed, and that's why we continue to fight and protest. That's why we're here to support the work of PUTT and other groups that are doing this work, and to support all of you. We're a big nonprofit pharmacy, and we still are feeling the attacks, just like, maybe not just like you did, but we certainly feel those attacks, because our patients, they see their formularies change, you know, and they see things like this happen, and we have to keep up with this, and we make sure our patients are always taken care of, and we make sure they get cutting-edge medicine and advocacy at no regard for cost. So we do that because we care, and we care a lot more than those folks. So thank you all for being here. Please keep up the fight against PBM greed. We have to stop this thing before it stops us. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, John. So proud to introduce Dr. Ken Engelhardt from Healthcare for All Minnesota. He is the one speaker that we've asked to speak just a few minutes longer than 2 minutes, because the message that he has to share, I think, is really important. I think it's something that I think we can all get behind, because we all care about access to quality health care. No one should be priced out of that ever. So if I could ask Dr. Engelhardt, right behind me. He's very stealth. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Yes, I'm Ken Engelhardt, and I'll give you a brief introduction in just a minute. But first, I'd like to thank those that invited me here. Monique Whitney, Executive Director of PUTT, Deborah Kevaney, Mindy's founder, Andrew Russell, who's a pharmacist and owner of the Elko New Market Family Pharmacy, and also a board member of PUTT and Mindy's, John Haitian, a pharmacist and owner of St. Paul Corner Drug, especially for the multiple conversations you've had with HCAM folks, and Dave Garibaldi, who is the HCAM board member that coordinated my ability to come here today. So just a brief introduction of myself. I am a retired internist. I retired in 2017 after 35 years of medical practice. I started out and practiced for 5 years in a rural community in South Dakota, a small clinic. I then moved to Marshfield, Wisconsin, a big multi-specialty clinic, and practiced there for 20 years. And I finished out the last 10 years of my career at the Minneapolis VA Medical Center, where I had the pleasure of working with our nation's veterans. And I know there's at least 3 veterans in this crowd right now, and I'd like to thank you all for your service to our country. So I'm going to start. I want to also say I am a board member of Healthcare for All Minnesota and Physicians for a National Health Program. I'll start out with drug prices. In January of this year, the Health and Human Services Department and the RAND Healthcare Organization did 3 studies of U.S. drug prices and compared us to the other highly developed countries in the world, these OECD countries. And they found that U.S. prices across all drugs, brand name and generic, were about 3 times higher for Americans than they were for the people in the developed countries of the world. They also found in 2022, the same study, that U.S. prices for insulin products were nearly 10 times as high as prices in 33 of these highly developed countries. These average gross prices for insulin in the U.S. were more than 10 times the price of that drug in France, the United Kingdom, and more than 6 times what our friends to the north, the Canadians, pay for insulin. Another Health and Human Services study in October of 2023 looked back on the year of 2022 and found out that more than 4,200 drug products had price increases, and the average drug price increase was 15.2%. The inflation for that period was 6.4%. So we're looking at over 2 times the price of inflation. So I ask you, my friends, is it fair for us Americans to be paying 3 times more for our drugs than people in other countries, the highly developed countries in the world? Does it make sense that we're paying 10 times the amount of the cost of insulin than other developed countries in the world? And is it fair that we have price increases that are over 2 times the cost of inflation in our country, over 2 times the cost of drug prices compared to inflation? I don't think any of these things are fair, and I'm glad to see that we're doing reform. I'd like to also draw your attention to an article. I'd recommend all of you to read this. This appeared in the New York Times in June of this year, June 21st. The title of that article was "The Opaque Industry Secretly Inflating Prices for Prescription Drugs." That article informed the reader that middlemen that oversee prescriptions in this country do so for over 200 million Americans. That PBMs push patients toward drugs with higher out-of-pocket costs. That they charge employers and government programs like Medicare multiple times the wholesale price of the drug, and they keep the difference. And here's the kicker for pharmacists. They pay pharmacies on behalf of employers, but are driving independent drugstores out of business by not paying enough to cover the pharmacy costs.
That's correct. Yes.
That Times article goes on to describe a story of a county commissioner in Sulphur, Oklahoma, Kent McKinley. He receives his insurance through a state government employee program that uses CVS Caremark as the PBM. For years he was fighting gastrointestinal cancer, and the drug he was using for that cost $138,000 a year, charged to that insurance program run by the state of Oklahoma. Well, as you might expect, a dog enters the picture. His package of his cancer medicine gets delivered to his front porch, and the dog chews it up. So you gotta love canines, right? So he's out of his cancer drug, and he thinks to himself, I'm gonna go down to my local pharmacy and see if I can get it there. So he went down to Hobbs Pharmacy, and the pharmacist there said, well, let's go to the online portal and see how much this price costs on the wholesale market. It was $14,000. The state of Oklahoma for years had been charged $138,000 a year for that drug that could be obtained on the wholesale market for $14,000. So the CVS profit for years was $124,000 from Oklahoma taxpayers, and the same thing has happened with multiple sclerosis drugs in that state. And this is just one patient. So PBMs are an inherent example of a foundational problem we have with our country and how we pay for health care. It's really a conflict of interest when our country's healthcare financing structure has people like Optum standing in the middle of your healthcare team and your care. It's unconscionable that the advice of people that are taking care of you, who know you, who listen to you, who examine you, and advocate for you, are being overridden by people in there who I have no idea what their medical training background is, but I doubt if it's much more than your medical team that's personally taking care of you. So we've got to fix this system. We have this middleman problem, and if you need a few more examples, let me tell you about Medicare Advantage. Here in the state of Minnesota, our broken healthcare system is exemplified by the fact that for Humana and their Medicare Advantage program, the following healthcare systems are withdrawing from the networks. These healthcare systems that are withdrawing from Humana because of what happens with Medicare Advantage and denying care and delaying payment for care and excessive pre-authorizations, the healthcare organizations that are withdrawing from Humana are Essentia Health in Duluth, St. Cloud Centricare, Fairview Health Services in the Twin Cities, Health Partners in the Twin Cities, and Sanford Health in Minnesota, though they're based in South Dakota. Those healthcare networks that are withdrawing from United Healthcare are Essentia Health and Health Partners. Now, I mentioned to you that I finished the last 10 years of my career at the Minneapolis VA Medical Center, and while I was there, I was asked to become the chief of the section of general internal medicine. So I supervised 6 clinics and over 40 primary care providers. And we embarked upon a project that reached out to patients with hepatitis C. As you know, it's caused by a virus, and it can cause cirrhosis of the liver, it can cause cancer of the liver, it can lead to death of the patient.
Hey everybody, I wanted to take a moment to welcome Matt Stoller and Douglas Howitt to the Protest Podcast. How are y'all doing today?
Good. Yeah, doing well.
Let me get my headphones on. Sorry.
Matt, my name's Doug Hoy. I don't think we've met in person before. I'm a fan of your writing.
Good to meet you.
Yeah, nice to meet you too. Your stuff gets circulated here at NCPA pretty thoroughly.
I will accept all pandering.
Yeah, I'm not sucking up. I mean, we were big, right? Isn't that what you write?
That's right. That's right.
Yeah, good stuff.
I appreciate that.
Hey, Doug, good to see you.
Hey, Mike. Yeah, we've got something coming up in a week or two, right?
Pretty soon here. Matt, I'm a fan of people who are a fan of yours. I've had Luke Slindy on the show a couple times and Ben Jolly, so I'm looking forward to having you on sometime.
Those guys just tell me what to write.
That's right. That's right.
Then I look good because I just steal other people's work. That's the key.
Absolutely. I doubt that, but absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
I'm glad y'all could join us. It's been a really good day. We've got a great turnout here. We've got some great speakers that are up, and it's been a blast. We all got together last night and had a lot of fun, and we're out here going at them today. So it's been really cool. It has been interesting. There is a lot of different people, a lot of different from all over the country, and it's pretty crazy right now, but thank you all for joining us. I want to talk about what we have coming up, and Doug and Matt, what you all see kind of this year playing out as far as the legislation we have, views that lawmakers have, regulatory bodies, what they're looking at, because we finally got so much attention on this that we're seeing movement. And I was wondering what the two of you kind of see how the rest of the year plays out going into next year as well.
Matt, do you want to start or?
Sure. I mean, I think, I don't know on the legislative front. It's not really what I'm focused on. Just in terms of vote counting, because that's trying to take a lot of time and skill that I just don't dedicate my time to that. But I am focused on. I think the Federal Trade Commission is likely. I mean, this has been a lot of the reporting. They're likely to bring a case on insulin and PBMs. That's something that they've been hinting at since 2022, and the reporting is that it's coming. So I would imagine we'll see that fairly soon. But I don't know beyond that. And then I think that the Department of Justice Antitrust Division, they recently started a new division, a healthcare task force, which means that they are focused, I think, on United Health Group. And that one I think is a little more long term. I think they're trying to develop the legal theory and a story, because you guys know this. United Health is so big and does so many things. It's kind of hard to find a through line of what they're doing. The one thing they're doing, with a bunch of the antitrust cases or cases around things that large corporations are doing wrong, you usually are all right, they're doing this behavior in this particular market, and that's bad, and we need to stop that, or that's illegal, we need to stop that. But United Health Group is so sprawling that, really figuring out, grouping the different behaviors into one theory, I think is going to take some time and effort.
Yeah, I'll add just on the legislative side, we continue to hear that the Medicaid reform is well positioned, probably in the lame duck, which we weren't excited for it to be in the lame duck, just because lame duck, sometimes all bets are off as far as how a politician's going to act in lame duck. But we're still hearing that it's likely that PBM reform is still a top priority in the Senate and in the House. From a vote count standpoint, at least in the House, it's already passed. It passed 320 to 71 Medicaid reform that would reform Medicaid for all 50 states and territories. And we continue to need Senator Schumer to bring it up for a vote in the Senate. Schumer was in New York last week visiting 2 independent pharmacies, which is unheard of. So those were positive visits. One of them with the NCPA board member, and they're actually both NCPA members, and we heard the visits went really well. Both of them brought up PBM reform, and both of all signs point to go. But it's one of those where I don't trust Congress until they actually do the action. Even if it does pass,
what efforts?
It's not over then. There's still a lot. There's so much more that needs to be done, but at least that's a good starting point.
Yeah, sorry, I've got a bit of an audio delay just because of my thing. What efforts are we making? Because we're going to have to anticipate they're going to come in and they're going to try to gut things. They always try to add a provision that makes a deal just go completely off the rails. What are we anticipating as far as what they're going to try to do and our response to it? Or can we even really talk about it on a podcast?
Well, I think, to your point, I think there's some predictable things they're going to do. Because when we talk about PBM reform, there are so many different bills out there, some of which would be fairly innocuous as far as what they would do to a PBM. There would be PBM reform, but as far as practical impact on the counter, it would have very little impact at all. So I think we have to guard against the PBMs kind of capitulating into, you'll drag us screaming and crying, and we'll agree to these reforms, when in effect they really don't do anything. And then the politicians still get to say, oh, we did reform, we did something good. So I think we have to be really careful, holding their feet to the fire, holding the politicians' feet to the fire, to say we need meaningful PBM payment reform, that it's really going to make a difference for the transparency and predictability for the pharmacy and for consumers and for taxpayers, which is that bill that the House has passed. But we just can't let them, kind of throw a red herring out there that gives the politicians a way to claim victory when they really didn't do anything. And I think that's what we have to guard against from the PBMs trying to throw in at the 11th hour.
Yeah, and Matt, you can speak on this. A lot of problems that we get as far as legislation and getting them to bring it up and talk about it is running into committee staffers who just don't want to deal with something because they're like, oh, we've already done this, we're not doing this again. And it's getting through to committee staffers and actually trying to get them on board and kind of, I guess, pressuring them to do it, because that is one big barrier with a lot of PBM reform is not just the politicians will throw up their hands and be like, oh, we've done it, we did a good job, and pat themselves on the back. You've got, committee staff who does that as well, and it's like they run this wall. And Matt, is there any insider advice you could give us as far as dealing with that issue?
Well, I mean, I think Schumer is really the problem here. Schumer doesn't I don't know if he has the votes. Like, he doesn't like to bring up things where he doesn't have the votes, but he also doesn't like to bring up things when he's getting money from the other side, right? And so I've seen this happen with him where he'll promise a vote and then he'll go and get a bunch of money and lie about it. And he does this all the time. So I just think you need to be very aggressive and critical and public about it. I don't think that this is an error. People in politics generally want to be like, oh, well, we've talked, we've had like useful conversations. We want to, really gently encourage them. And I just don't think that gets you anywhere. I don't think that gets you much. I think you have to be straightforward about what you need. And you have to say, if you're not doing it, then that's on you. And I would also say I'm really leery of calling it PBM reform, right? Because PBM reform could mean anything. And so I think it's a bad frame to say that. I think it needs to be, something different, right? Break up PBMs, turn them into public utilities, whatever it is, but something that carries the weight of what you're trying to do, which is ultimately break their power. And plenty of, I think the committee staff, they're just playing around with the frame that you've chosen, right? Because you're like, oh, well, we already did PBM reform, and they're right, because they did. Did they break up PBMs? No. Did they get rid of rebates? No. So it's like, if you're asking for PBM reform, they will give that to you. That's the wrong ask, though. You need to have like a rhetorical structure that doesn't let them escape. And that means you have to be clear, and you have to be willing, you have to be willing to lose, right? You have to be willing to lose, right? I think that's kind of, and be straightforward about what you need. And I think that's the hard part of politics. Or have someone else do it, just be like, hey, I'm on your side, but then have, someone else, hammering them aggressive and be like, look, I'm on your side, but I can't get them to stop unless you blah, 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 blah. And that's, I think, the dynamic. I would say, that Congressman Jake Aiken-Kloss seems like a real weapon. And, that's somebody that, man. Yeah, that guy's like, he's aggressive. He knows the issue. And I mean, I feel like that's the kind of person who can negotiate effectively. A lot of it is like committee staff. What you need to do is you need to have a member just go to the chair and just say, your staff is fucking around. Like, I need XYZD. And then have the chair commit to that. And then to have that member follow up and be like, stop fucking around. I got a commitment from your boss. That's like, you have to just go over their heads, because they work for someone, but they kind of like want to like hide what they're doing, or they not all of them. I don't want to overstate it, right? Some of them are not doing that, but like, they're trying to manage. If you're a committee staffer, you're trying to manage someone with limited amount of time, limited bandwidth, and you want to give them decisions that really the most impactful decisions. And to the extent that you can make other decisions that you don't think are as important, or that you think are like politically out of consensus, you're going to do that, right? So if you want to break through, and that's just the way they're always going to operate, right? they're not going to be like they might think, hey, I'd like to, launch United Health Group's CEO to the moon and have them never come back. But I'm not going to propose that because that's not ever going to move anywhere. So I'm not going to present that to my boss, even if I might want that or think that's the best policy, which it is. But you need to introduce that into the conversation with a member who will talk to the chair directly and get that commitment. And that's kind of like, and so you need to be upfront with the staff and just be like, here's what we need. And if you're not willing to do that, that's not what we need, right? If you're going to do this other thing, we're going to be, that's fine. And thank you, but that's not what we need. That's not going to save our businesses and allow us to compete freely. And, we're going to have conversations with other members to try to make this point. And ultimately, if you can go above their heads enough times, they'll realize, oh, okay, we can't just pawn these people off, right? I mean, you guys know this. This is like, you guys have relationship with members. You can get this to happen. But Jake Aikenclaw seems like the kind of guy who would be willing to go to a chair and say, yeah, this isn't going to fix the problem. If you pass this, and this is my fear with a lot of PBM reform, you'll pass something that says there's going to be some change. We're going to give it to some bureaucrat who can make rules. And in 3 years, they'll what happened? And it's be like, oh, well, we tried that. And there's all this litigation and blah, 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 right? And that's the concern. And so you really need to be aggressive upfront and make that argument and just have someone just be like, this has to get fixed, right? You have to fix it the right way.
Yeah, I think just to add to that, I think there needs to be a consequence when you're talking to them. By aggressive, and Jeremy, just knowing our audience, aggressive doesn't mean threaten, personal attacks, personal insult, or anything, because that'll just shut people down. But there does need to be a consequence that impacts them, and that consequence could be something they care about, whether it's their name shows up in the local newspaper as not supporting small business, their name shows up in the local social media as far as not supporting patients, businesses going out, jobs being lost. It needs to be something that they care about, not just, hey, your spouse is ugly. That's not going to win any kind of hearts and minds and souls. But there does need to be a consequence. It can't be some soft, well, gee, we really like you to do this. No, this is life and death, but not just life and death rhetoric. Life and death, here's why. Again, lost jobs, patient access, whatever that is that politician and or their staff cares about, it needs to be kind of framed that way to understand there is a consequence if you don't do this specific ask, not just PBM reform, some generic thing, but payment reform, predictability, transparency, taxpayer savings.
Yeah, and if there's one thing I do know, it is being incredibly aggressive. But I think that is important, is you have to have these kind of pressuring almost campaigns. And, you can be nice about it at first, and then you've got to turn the heat up, because that's the biggest thing is we've got to identify where these bottlenecks are happening, and we've got to bust it up. And that, I think, is a lot of the problem. And Schumer is a huge bottleneck. It's great that he went to visit Steve's pharmacy. I think that's great. But he is an issue. He is a major issue. And then he's going out trying to do these photo ops when he's keeping our bills choked up. No, that's ridiculous. And it's
I'm not saying take your foot off the gas. That there's nothing on that at all. In fact, we should be putting our foot on the pedal. So for EVs, I guess we can say the pedal, right? Gas or EV. We should be hitting it harder. But personal attacks aren't going to work. But I think for the senator, he wants to show that he's supporting his constituents, and he's not supporting his local constituents. I think he would care about that.
I think there's another part of what being aggressive means, which is, I think there's there's an intellectual framework that we have to kind of get to, which is to essentially say PBMs are useless. Okay, that's the truth. Is that the PBM revenues, like if you take the top 3 PBMs, they have more annual revenue than France spends on healthcare. And what they're essentially doing is running a series of spreadsheets, right?
Yes.
And
Yep.
like it has to be framed in that, like what I generally see is a kind of, all right, we need to figure out how to reform PBMs, and like there's a kind of a concession to the legitimacy of the PBM in the business. And I think being aggressive means actually starting with, look, we all know PBMs are useless. We all know that rebates are bad. And we all know that this is just extractive. So what are we going to do about it? Here are our ideas. What are you going to do about it? And then you move away from this concept of PBM reform and towards, let's imagine a world without PBMs or a world beyond PBMs. Like that's the whole point here is like, and I personally, I like personal tax. I think they are fun. And like, I don't know why, I mean, whatever, like when people don't listen to me, sometimes I do yell at them, and then that can get them to listen or get scared or
Those
whatever.
are some of my favorite tweets.
Yeah, sometimes they backfire, right? But I think you don't want to put the tactics before the ideas and the strategy. And the ideas and like the premise here is like where we want to get to is like PBMs, they're basically they should just be clerks, right? Relatively unimportant clerks that hand out a benefit network and make a very small amount of money for it. And right now they're
Spreadsheet
nerds. They're central players, right? And we have to just be like, look, the whole point here is to remove them as central players. They shouldn't be important in this system. Why are we even considering a system where they're important? Why are we considering a reform where they remain important? They don't make medicine. They don't dispense medicine. They don't help patients. They don't lower prices. What do they do, right? I mean, let's just treat them like what they are, which is clerks. And that's where you have to start from. And I think if you put it to staff at that level and just be like, look, how do we shrink them back to the size of clerks? Then it's like, it's harder for a congressional staffer or committee staffer to rebut that, because then they're in a space where they have to like, now they're arguing with your frame instead of you're arguing kind of with their frame, right?
Yes, I think the framing is huge. Claudia, are you trying to say something? You're muted.
You're muted. Claudia, you're muted.
Has she been sitting there talking the whole time?
I didn't realize how to work my phone.
Welcome back, Claudia.
Patience.
Hey guys, thank you everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like the idea about framing where we don't use PBM reform and let it be framed in that box so much. We go in and we do, we got to save pharmacies. Like, we're going to go in and have you saved pharmacies yet? Oh, no? Then we're going to keep pushing. And you get that frame, you identify where you need to push, and you keep going. What I find interesting is how so many groups have come together with this here lately. Just a few years ago, if you told me as many patient groups and physicians groups and everyone else would be out here like protesting with us and doing all this stuff, it didn't seem possible. If you told me that Congress and the FTC were working the way they do, like they are right now, a few years ago, that would have seemed impossible. I'm out here with a Lena Khan Notorious FTC shirt on. Like, it's incredible to see like the gains that we've made, but we got a really long way to go at this point, and it's something that we've got to continue to think 5 steps ahead. We've got to continue to outsmart them. We've got to continue to use every weapon we have, because we don't have the resources to fight a heads-up, like straight-on battle with them. They've got more than we do. So we've got to be smart about it, and we've got to get things fired up. We've got to use the things that we have the most, and that is access to our patients and being community leaders, because whenever we get together and do stuff, people take notice, and we've got to remind lawmakers of that.
I agree, Jeremy. I completely agree. I mean, together is so much stronger than a bunch of fragmented voices out of the wilderness. And the progress has been incredible. The streak in the summer, the Wall Street Journal, New York Times, House Oversight Committee, FTC report all coming out within a few weeks. It was pretty incredible. We just can't rest on the laurels and say, okay, well, job well done. I mean, there's so much more. And I guess, Matt, I'd be really interested in your perspective on this. we're today's, we're less than 2 months away from an election where we're going to have a different president, and probably some different administration, even if it's another Democrat in the if Vice President Harris wins. From a time standpoint, I guess when I think about FTC, DOJ, other folks who have found religion on PBMs, thankfully so. What's the election? The outcome of the election, how is that going to affect it? I mean, we have a perspective on that. I'd be interested in yours.
I don't know the answer to that question because I think we've never known less about both candidates running than we do today. I don't know what Kamala Harris thinks about any of these questions, and I don't think she knows what she thinks about these questions. And nobody knows what Trump is going to do either. But I think in a lot of areas, I would be very pessimistic. But in this area, there really is a consensus that something has gone very wrong. And, I've watched these congressional hearings, and you do have kind of a consensus in Congress that PBMs are really not useful, or at least not. Yeah, I think that is a consensus in Congress. But what you are up against is it's not so much corruption, right? You would think it would be like chaos. I mean, that matters. It's more like you have a whole generation of health wonk people, policy people, who have bought into the idea that these middlemen, and not just PBMs, but all over the economy, matter and are useful. And they're like, they have to be useful. They can't be doing so important and not in some sense be useful. They're constantly looking for the kernel of what's useful about it. They're constantly, they believe that price discrimination is good and promotes kind of more progressive distribution of resource. Like there's all of these theories they have, and they're all wrong, right? The emperor has no clothes, but you just have all of these people in positions of bureaucracy and authority who think that, and they just can't get themselves to imagine a world where, like, all we really value are in medicine are the people that deal with patients, right, and make medicine, right, like the scientists, the engineers, the doctors, the pharmacists, the nurses, the people who actually do real work. So that's the intellectual problem and the political problem that we're up against, and I think people in Congress kind of get that, but then even they're still in this kind of libertarian framework where they just have a tough time imagining that it's the government's role to structure markets. Even though the government is structuring these markets, they're just structuring them on behalf of United Health Group. So those are kind of like the challenges. And I don't know that it's going to be that different a challenge, particularly just in this area between Harris and Trump on like the HHS CMS side. It might be very different. I just don't know. But I'm not sure. With the
HHS will forever suck. Like, I mean, it's just hard to do anything. HHS is terrible. My biggest thing is I would vote for a cardboard cutout of myself, or really anyone. I would vote for a cardboard cutout of O.J. Simpson if it meant keeping Lena Khan at the FTC.
Well, that's what I was going to say. Is that like there are sort of some unicorns in the Biden administration. Like there's Lena Khan and there's Jonathan Cantor, and there's just like a couple of people that are unusually great, right? And that's not speaking to the whole administration. Like, I don't think HHS is inherently bad. I think that Javier Becerra is terrible. And most of the political people there are bad, right? Because you could, if this were 5 years ago, we would all have been like, yeah, the FTC is terrible. It's always going to be terrible. But it's like, you can change these institutions. And we just like haven't. And I don't think there's going to be someone better at HHS under either administration. It might be, maybe Trump could just put like a big pharmacy goon in there who just like hates PBMs, and maybe that'll so you could see that happening, right? But yeah, like I think that just on this issue, I mean, I think Lena Khan is so important in this area that's kind of like why I think Harris is a better leader, although there are like a lot of her donors want her to fire Lena Khan. So there's got to be like
we gotta break for a second, guys. We'll be back in like 2 minutes. Brandy, our executive board member, is going to speak for a few minutes, and we'll be right back with that one, Matt.
That everyone was able to attend. Take time out of your busy schedules while you're taking care of your communities. I applaud all of you for taking that time. And while we're all here, what I want to speak about is the call to action that I want to put out right now to the people that are watching this live cast. So what I want to say is not only are these PBMs harming patients, they're harming our communities, but they're destroying our American dream. It's my American dream. And it's your American dream, and it's your American dream. These people are destroying our opportunity to pursue our dreams to be entrepreneurs, and not only that, to take care of our communities. I appreciate that everyone is busy and not everyone can be here, but what you can do is you can pick up the phone and you can call your legislator, because guess what? They work for us. We don't work for them. We put them into that office, and it is their responsibility to listen to our concerns, and it is their responsibility to address the problems that are happening in our healthcare system. If you think they won't listen, you're wrong, and all you have to do is call. Keep calling. Get your patients to call. Get your providers to call, because if enough of us start doing this, there will be no option but to act. So thank you all for being here. I appreciate your time, and let's keep fighting.
Is there anyone else? Anyone else with a comment?
Jeremy. Hey, Jeremy.
To thank some of our sponsors and thank all of you. We got a pretty long list of sponsors and supporters here, so bear with me. First and foremost, we've got AIDS Healthcare Foundation. Thank you. We got American Pharmacies, Arthritis Center. Big thank you to Healthcare for All Minnesota. Thank you all. The Minnesota Farmers Union. Thank you. Unite for Safe Medications. Thank you. We've got our friends from New York, Pisney. Thank you for making the trip. Good to see ya. We've got SPAR, our friends from Florida. Thank you. The IPA, the Independent Pharmacy Association. New group, Mindy's, the Minnesota Independent Pharmacists. All right. PURE, Patients United for Insurance Reform. Thank you. The Coalition of State Rheumatology Organizations. Thank you. Yes. We've got the Arizona Independent Pharmacy Coalition. Thank you. APCI, American Pharmacy Cooperative Inc. DataScan Pharmacy Software. Patient Protector. Thank you. And I think the
Okay, I fixed it. Yeah, you are. Excellent. Thank you, Andrew.
PBM in the house.
Yeah. Yeah, I got my audio fixed. I was plugging things up wrong. You can hear me, right, Mike?
It's a little low, Jeremy.
All right, how about now?
That's better.
Okay, cool. Yeah, there was audio issue here with the mic plugs. But yeah, we just finished up with our speakers. Now everybody's going to start marching around, getting wild. It's been a really good day. We've got a great turnout. We've had some great speakers. It's really cool. And this is something that we want to continue to do and put pressure and really bring a lot of public awareness. A ton of people have been driving by and just honking horns at us. Like, everyone hates these bastards.
Hey, Jeremy, I just wanted to comment. It wasn't real kind of you, OJ, to bring him up in the same conversation with the PBMs. Poor guy.
That wasn't kind of OJ at all. Like, he deserved better than that.
He does, for sure.
Yeah, it's been great. I've got John here with AIDS Healthcare Foundation. John, you want to come on with us? Let me fix the camera up. Here, use these headphones. I'm going to fix the camera for you and get my headphones working again. All right. Don't lose the Jameson. I can't lose my JMO. All right, I'll probably have to turn both of ours up. All right, John.
Hey.
AIDS Healthcare Foundation. You all are awesome. You all know how to protest, and this is cool as hell.
Absolutely, this has been awesome. A great group of people, a really passionate, and I watched how some of these folks really. When the security team showed up, but we didn't just get one security guard. We had 7 of them, and they all stood there really. And some of our folks were just in their face, and it's really exciting to see such passion around what's a really important issue, and making sure that those folks can go back to their bosses and say, these people are mad, they're angry, and they should be, because there's a lot of crap coming out of Optum, and we don't want to see that anymore.
Oh yeah, it's Optum is one of the worst. United Healthcare in general is one of the worst. I mean, my personal hatred is towards CVS because they started off as pharmacies, and then they turned into this huge conglomerate nightmare. And to me, it's just they've bastardized my profession. They bastardized what we do, and I'm sick of it. I personally hate them the most, but it's all so very equal because they're all so very terrible.
Well, because they're all so focused only on one thing. How much money can we make? How much money can we put in our coffers? How much money can we put in the CEOs and the other executives' pockets? How much money can these board members make on their stocks? And that's what they care about. They don't really care about the folks that are standing here. They don't care about those independent pharmacies. They don't care about our patients. And so they want to see more money, and they're going to do everything they can. So they'll knock a drug off a formulary just because it wasn't making them enough money. So let's do something else. Let's take that away, or make it difficult, forcing people into mail order so they don't have to have bricks and mortar buildings and buildings and stuff. So at CVS, you're right. They're like the evil empire. They
are.
And they when you talk to pharmacists who work at CVS, they hate their jobs because they're driven to go by numbers. They're not driven to take care of patients. There's no customer service angle. It's how many prescriptions can you belt out in an hour, and you better move them faster and faster and faster. And that's not how you do this kind of business. This is a people business. You need to work with people. You need to talk to people. You need to know your patients. You need to know your communities. And that's not what's happening at a place like CVS, or Walgreens, or
it's a sweatshop.
Rite Aids are closing all over. And where I'm from in Cleveland, our entire city is practically a pharmacy desert because they've closed all these, and even Walgreens had these big pharmacies with all the groceries and all that kind of stuff. Well, they closed those and they opened up these kind of little mini drive-through things. Well, now they're closing those.
Oh, of course.
So they're like, let's take you here, let's take you here. Oh, you know what? You're going to have to get your stuff in the mail.
Yeah.
That's not the way we want to do everything.
And those assholes during the hearing talking about, these pharmacies might be inefficient, and it's about efficiency. There's no efficiency in the world that can make up for the fact that you're not making money on a drug. You can bring down your overhead as much as possible, but if you're getting paid under what you're actually getting the drug for, you can't have a business model like that. It's ridiculous. And they love using these terms like efficiency and synergy.
And they want to blame these businesses that have been operating for, in some cases, generations.
Yeah.
That they don't know what they're doing. They know what they're doing.
Yes.
They've known what they're doing for decades. And the only reason they're struggling is because these PBMs are sucking the life out of them, taking their money, taking the profits, taking the rebates. They're hitting these companies, these individual businesses really hard, and that's hitting our communities hard.
Yeah, And we've got to come to terms, our lawmakers, our general public, everything, that sometimes scale isn't the fucking answer.
Right.
But, that's just little old Jeremy. And Matt, you talk about this a lot. Banker brain. It's one of my favorite terms now, is how people associate things like health insurance to really it's financial instruments. And we've got to break people from having banker brain to really kind of get at the heart of the matter.
And bigger is not always better, right?
No.
So that's not always the case, especially when it comes to a business like this, where you really have to. We're a big organization, and we have a lot of pharmacies. We have them in 17 states and DC and Puerto Rico. But our pharmacists are part of our communities, and so they know our patients. We know our pharmacy is a part of an overall continuum of care. So when you come into an AHF clinic, your pharmacist is working with your case manager. They're working with the doctor. They're working with nurses. They're working with other professionals within the organization. So they know what our pharmacists know what our patients need and what they're doing and what's happening, and that avoids prescribing the wrong drugs or prescribing wrong doses or things like that. They're not in a hurry to process a prescription. If you walk in to talk to them, they'll stop and talk to you. They want to. If you need something explained to you, they will stop and take the time to do that. Which is also what our independent pharmacists are doing in their communities. They will take the time to get to know what you need, to know what you're going through, to educate you on side effects or things like that. Try asking a pharmacist at one of the big corporate pharmacies to take a few minutes to talk to you. They'll yell to you from. That must be a big corporate pharmacist going by. He was upset. He wanted to drown me out. They'll yell to you from the podium up there, while they're knocking pills into the jars, but they won't come and talk to you.
No, they don't
have the
They're in
time.
a sweatshop.
And they'll get ripped to shreds by their division manager or something else because they didn't get enough stuff done in an hour.
Yeah, that's the efficiency. That's sweatshops.
Right.
Like it's insane, and it's these concepts that have been ingrained in us, I think, over the past 20 years or so, that we've just accepted, and we don't have to.
Right. It's a corporate greed problem that we have. It's not just obviously in the world of PBMs and pharma. What is it? There's something I've seen where there's only a small handful of corporations control everything we eat, right?
Yeah.
Only a small handful of corporations control all the drugs that are dispensed in the pharmacies and so on. Only a small handful of corporations control so many things, and that's just this PBM problem is part of a larger corporate greed problem that we have in the country, and
it's monopolization problems.
we've
had too much of this.
Yeah, I remember when I was a kid, and there was they broke up the bells, the phone companies, and aren't they just as big as they were before, if not bigger? We deregulated airlines for competition, and now there's four legacy airlines and a few others. It's like PBMs. There's just 3 that control the entire marketplace.
3 control 80%.
Right,
and
which
then
is
6
absurd.
Control 95%.
Right.
They love to still talk about competition. It's so competitive. It ain't fucking competitive.
Yeah. That's not
ridiculous.
competition. That's not how competition works.
Yeah. Our crowd right now is, they just were chanting "lock them up" over and over again at the Optum sign. So that was really cool. But Matt and Doug, as far as, I talked about banker brain. I talked about these concepts. Are you finding, as far as messaging, and I know, Matt, your opinions, especially with monopolization and everything else, as far as messaging, is that starting to get through to more lawmakers? Because I think they're starting to get that some of this is happening, but it's also one of those situations where it's still hard to push back on, because these are really, really powerful corporations.
I'll just say a few words. I think this is probably more in Matt's wheelhouse than mine, but I think it is getting through, especially to the agencies so the consumer welfare standard was used by the FTC for 40 years, from Robert Bork really pushing that concept, and it kind of, frankly, to me, made it easy to decide to be the divining rod as to whether or not a merger is going to get approved. Someone could come in and invent some kind of economic analysis that says, hey, consumers save money, approved. And I think that is blowing up in our faces now 40 years later, and we're paying the consequences of that through crappy service, through fill in the name of the blank, whether it be in our world, pharmacy side, PBMs, but airlines, cable companies, technology. So I think I think the message is getting through. I think it's starting with some of the big technology companies. That's where some of that message is getting through. I think it's also getting through on the vertically integrated healthcare, whether it's pharmacy or health systems, where people are getting bigger, but the quality of care is getting worse. I think what I could be concerned about is I do worry about the politicians having the guts to actually change things, because to change things means someone's cheese is going to get moved, and some of their big donors their cheese is going to get moved. So I think realization that it's happening, the big is not better, is getting out there. It's going to be a slow burn, but I think it's getting out there. But I think we're going to have to, as consumers, demand that our politicians do something about it and not just keep catering to the big companies. But again, Matt, I think this is more your wheelhouse.
Yeah, I think that there's a broad recognition that the old model doesn't deliver what they had been promised. I mean, thanks to the financial crisis, it's gotten more. I think there's more and more awareness of that. The challenge is that they're not. And I think, and I don't think this is just politicians. I think everyone is just kind of afraid that whatever change they make will make things worse. So that's a lot of the challenge. So there's a kind of, I want a revolution as long as everything stays the same vibe to it, right? And these guys are, they will say, okay, if you bring a suit, we're going to find ways of making you pay for it, right? And like if you brought a suit against a PBMs, right? Like that, let's say the FTC did that, and the PBMs had the ability to raise prices on consumers in a very, in a politically sensitive constituency. They would do that, and they would say we're being forced to, and those constituents would get mad, and we see, and that's an organizing problem, right? So you can't really blame politicians for whatever you want. The politicians are supposed to represent voters, and if they do something that makes those voters angry, they're not doing their job necessarily. And so we have to figure out, like, how do you get voters to understand what's going on here and to demand changes and to tolerate those changes, right? And I think that's the challenge. There's a lot of like, oh, politicians are corrupt, they're bad, they're whatever it is. But I actually don't think I think that's a misdiagnosis. I think politicians get a bad rap. I think there's just like a basic lack of faith in democracy. And when you don't have faith in democracy, then someone's going to have to be in charge, and you're generally speaking, you're going to say, well, I guess the PBMs are in charge in this particular space. In other spaces, the bankers are in charge, and the other space, the defense contractors are in charge. Like, and if you don't have enough faith in public institutions to do that, then that's just where you're going to end up, right? And I don't know a way out of it. Like, we see this like in every area, right? So,
yeah,
and I think
it's ridiculous.
People are getting there, but it takes time.
Yeah. Go ahead.
No, I think we talk about politicians and getting them to do something, and so then a lot of times these corporations are so big and so bold, they don't care what the law is anyway. So like another, maybe a slightly parallel example about 340B and Johnson & Johnson saying, we're not going to honor the 340B price, and we're going to do it instead of as a discount, we're going to do a rebate. Well, that's not the way it works. That's not what the law says. That's not what they're allowed to do. And HRSA's like, bad. And that's it. And nothing happens. So there's no accountability. So J&J gets away with it. And if they get away with it, then, AbbVie is going to do it. And then the next company is going to do it. The next company is going to do it. And this is how they decimate the things that exist, that are there to help either protect our interests, protect our businesses, or protect patients and people who need these services.
Yeah,
So
we pass laws and they will straight up just ignore them and dare you to,
Right.
Sue them or challenge them and make you enforce it. That's what we see a lot of these times. So we do get laws passed, and it's hard to have any teeth because they are just that powerful, and they can ignore it. And whenever you try to do something, they can tie it up in courts forever.
because they have unlimited resources. They have so much money that they can continue to spend and spend and spend and just basically beat down, David, so Goliath wins.
One question, I think one challenge that I think people in this world can tackle is like, all right, one way to think about United Health Group is as it's like a castle, right? This is like a common metaphor in antitrust, right? Monopolists often talk about themselves and they say, we have a castle, we have a moat, we can throw burning hot oil, we have catapults, we have archers, and well, if you take away our catapults, we can just throw hot oil on you, right? Or if we get rid of our archers, we can, we still have catapults. And so if you just say you can't use catapults anymore, it doesn't work. What you need to do is say, take away them all, get rid of the castle, and say we're going to fire the king, and someone else is going to buy the moat. Right? You need to take it all apart. But I think one dynamic is that, we're not thinking, okay, what would that look like? Right? What's a theory that you could use to say, here are the different component parts. This is what United Health Group should look like. It should look like 5 companies or 20 companies or 100 companies. These are the lines of business. This is where to cut, right? That's if you cut, when you go to a politician, you say, I want you to fix this market and pass this law. They're like, okay, and they pass the law, and that doesn't do anything. What we need is to sell something that will address it, and that is all right, here's the full way to break their power, and that's I think the core of it is think that through, think about the narrative. Think about what's the fundamental thing that United Health Group is doing wrong? Where are the conflicts of interest? Where is the market power exactly? And then lay that out, and then that becomes a roadmap.
One of those things is probably the vertical integration of these businesses. That they everything flows through one funnel. That's it. So there's no way for you to make a choice or have a decision. It's all if you go from here to here to here, and that's it. So some way to break up that vertical integration is probably one good step in terms of having a solution, among other things.
Yeah, I agree. I think, so what I'm going to suggest is not necessarily this holistic look at vertical integration, but just on the PBM side. One thing that we've been saying over and over as far as what the ask should be on PBM reform, PBM changes, is to terminate your PBM. Because the laws that get passed, those are good. We need those laws to keep them, to try to restrain them. But ultimately, the thing they're going to pay attention to the most is market share. And if they lose market share, that will get the PBM's attention. And so who's the biggest employer? Who's the biggest employer of PBMs in the country? All of us are as taxpayers. Our tax dollars are paying the fees in Medicare and Medicaid for PBM. So the demand should be for the politicians who are indirectly signing these checks for Medicare and Medicaid to terminate the PBM. Now, do we have better options for PBMs? Probably. We have the transparent PBMs, and we need to be careful with those, because some of those, are we just rebuilding another, putting another king into the castle, to use your analogy, Matt? Yeah, no, we may be. So we need to make sure that a transparent PBM has safeguards around it, so it truly is just a paper pusher, a processor, and nothing more. But that's the way we get their attention. We get the PBM's attention by terminating them, by asking our government, our taxpayer dollars, to go no longer to subsidizing these guys, but instead to terminate them, bring someone else in, save billions of dollars in taxpayer money. My 2 cents.
And we're about to wrap things up here, but Mike, did you have any questions for, Matt or Doug or anything right now? Because it's, I want to give you an opportunity to kind of chime in here, because you're one of the, smartest guys I know, Mike. Like, I want you to chime in here, and I want you to ask some questions.
Matt, do we have precedent of breaking down something that has such a foothold right now? Is there any precedent in that? I mean, I know when the phone companies and the airlines and stuff were broken up, it's like, well, yeah, but we still have airplanes and we still have telephones. Do you recall in history, or can we put our heads together, of a example of that where something such a behemoth like this has just been like broken up, not only broken up, but like put out to pasture? Or would this be a first for us?
No, I mean, we've done it before, right? I mean, you'd have to cobble together a couple of analogies, but like, you know, in terms of like, you could look at, you know, in the 30s, we had a company that was Boeing, United Technologies, and United Airlines all in one company. And we broke that up, and they created the Airmail Act of 1934, which created a lot of our modern aerospace industry, and also the airlines and defense contractors. It was like that was a big breakup, right? And there were plenty of those. There was the Public Utility Holding Company Act in 35, which was, you know, you had these big holding companies of electric utilities all over the country, and that law was passed and required breakups along basically regional lines. You know, you had like financial syndicate. We've done this in lots of different ways. There are antitrust cases, like DuPont used to own a big part of General Motors, right? And we just said, no, you have to sell that stock. And this was in the 50s. There were breakups of network TV in the 1970s called the financial syndication rules. There have been breakups. There are breakups of the movie studios in Hollywood, actually multiple times in early, like the 1900s when they were first started, and then in the 1940s. And then there's a whole tradition in the 19th century as well, where you have like and I'm kind of less familiar with that one, but you know, AT&T has been broken up 3 times in the 20th century, right? So you know where there's 2 T's in AT&T, right? It's American Telephone and Telegraph. They used to own Western Union, and they were forced to spin that off in 1913. And they were forced to spin off some assets in 1950, and there was also regulatory choices around patents at the same time. And they were broken up again in 1982. So we have a lot of experience with restructuring. I mean, in the early 1900s, like breakups of lots of different companies, International Harvester, like the Pullman sleeping car, conglomerate, just like a ton of American Tobacco, Standard Oil. I mean, Standard Oil was super complicated, right? These are broke up into 34 different component parts. But yeah, there's tons.
And I guess, Matt, if I may, I guess what I want to do is I want to respond and soak in your challenge, where it sounds to me like all of those were broken up. Like, all right, let's break all this up. Now we have a bunch of little companies that do all of the things that these bigger companies did. But I think your challenge to us is say, don't just break up the PBMs into smaller PBMs, but do away with them. And it sounds like we never said, let's do away with airlines, or let's do away with banks, or let's do away with oil, or let's do away with phone companies. It sounds like your challenge to us is saying, let's not just break them up. In fact, we don't even care if we break them up. Let's bring them down where we don't need them anymore. And I think I agree. I just think that's a fascinating challenge to us, and I think we can pick it up and run with it. But we're saying, it'd be like us saying, we don't need phones anymore, or we don't need airlines anymore, or we don't need banks anymore. And it's kind of like your challenge to us is like, we don't need PBMs anymore. And I think that's a huge challenge, and I love it. But I don't know if that's been done before to break it up, to actually not even need it anymore.
Right. Well, so you know, saying we don't need phones anymore, we don't need airplanes anymore is not quite the right analogy, because phones and airlines are useful, right? Whereas PBMs are really, it's really just an administrative function.
That's right.
I'm not saying we need that administrative function. We do, but it's just like, it doesn't need to be, such a major part of our economy. In terms of banning an industry, and this one was, you could argue it's not a useful industry, or you could argue it is, but like, we banned the alcohol industry, and that was really big in 1919.
right.
That was
right.
constitutional amendment. I think that was like the third largest industry in America, and just like banned it, or fifth largest. It was really big, right? And just banned it. And then, restored it, but restored it in a very regulated way, like the prohibition forced it at a state level. I don't actually know if another big one was slavery, right? That's like a whole industry that
there you go.
We fought a war over that one, but like also there were a bunch of rules and laws that banning the importation of slaves, and so these are big analogies. One of the reasons it's hard to think of an analogy is because if there was a useless administrative function that we got rid of, I probably don't know about it, because we got rid of it because it wasn't that important. Like in 20 years or 30 years, there will be no reason for people to know about what PBMs are, because they'll be like, wait, that was a thing?
That's right.
So I don't, maybe there was some, maybe there's some part of the rail, I'm gonna make this up, like railroad schedules or something like that. That was a huge industry because it's so important to get, and that's the kind of thing then they just started giving them away and it wasn't a big deal anymore. Something like that. I guess there are analogies to that throughout American history, but it's a really good question, and I'm going to start kind of looking for some, because there is
you're right.
Yeah.
Well, I track what you're saying precisely. It's like it was so useless. It's like we don't even know how to talk about something that went out of style 50 years ago. Whatever it was, straightening something on a train or doing this or that. It's like we don't even know what that is anymore. So we don't have to talk about it anymore because we're not missing it. There's no hole for us anymore.
Right.
Sorry, just one analogy is like the New York Customs House in the 19th century. It was like where most of our tax was collected through imports, and that was one of the most powerful. Chester Arthur, who later became president, was he was picked as vice president from that. But it was so powerful, right, and important. And now it's it doesn't matter, right? And that might be an analogy where people would be like, how can you downgrade the New York Customs House? And then it just right. So I don't have an analogy, but there are these kinds of things.
Perfect.
And I think too that as you talk about these things, Matt, and you go through some of this history, it feels like you're talking about things where there really was a political will to do these things. So you had, whether they, whatever party they were from, you had elected officials in Congress or state houses or governors or what have you, presidents, who had the will to do this. And I wonder if we have that political will when it comes to some of these things, especially when you think about PBMs. Is there a political will to break this up, to shut it down? That's probably on us to force that, to make sure that is that's out there. But that's some of the thing I think that comes into a problem with any of these things we talk about. Is there the will? And because there's so much money now in politics, there's so much money being fed into dark money and all these different things. Is there the will to really do anything until some of that changes?
Is that the question? My view is
it's a rhetorical question, not a specific question.
So I think people get the causation backwards, right? The choices that we made when Robert Bork won that debate in the 1970s, we were a relatively egalitarian country that didn't have a lot of money in politics, and they won the intellectual debate, and then they built all these giant, powerful systems. And you look at these powerful systems, and they're like, wow, they're so powerful. That must be why they're here. But no. They're here because they're built on ideas that were implemented when they weren't, they were just ideas, right? And so I think there's a legitimacy, we are a democracy, right? And you do see Congress yelling at PBMs all the time. And if it were just about money and power, then they wouldn't do that, right? So I actually think that I think we have built the political will. I think it's just about continuing making the arguments and building a different organizing framework. That's the thing, is that in some ways this is kind of a downhill battle, and the most important advantage they have is making us think it's impossible, right?
Mm-hmm.
As opposed to like
Right.
realize they're probably, I'm guessing that those guys are sitting in their like CEO suites being like, man, our opponents are so organized and effective. I wish we had a little bit of like their effectiveness. They got everybody yelling at us. This is like a nightmare. We can't win this fight. I'm guessing that's what they think, you know, on their lovely yachts. But like, so like, I mean, I think that's like, I think we are winning. I think our ideas are better. And I think our ideas are kind of getting there. I just think there's like a lack of confidence in ourselves and in democracy, and that we can only overcome that by just overcoming it.
Mm-hmm.
Excellent. Yeah. Well, y'all, we got to start wrapping this up. Everybody, stick around for a few minutes after with the after party here, so we can upload our audio and stuff. Claudio, you're muted yet again. It's been wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you all for joining us.
Thank you all.
Doug, Matt, Mike, Claudia. It's been a blast here. Everyone keeps coming up and gifting me Jameson airplane bottles they brought for me, and Bill just gave me the Spotted Cow beer that you can only get in Wisconsin, so I'm enjoying that for the first time.
You should chug
This is
it.
pretty cool. No, I'm not going to chug it. I'm going to savor this one, Claudia. I've already done 2 of these airplane bottles.
Do it if you're strong. Do it if you're a real advocate.
Oh my God.
I will not be challenged, although I do rise.
If it was a Budweiser, I would say go for it. But this is a decent
Spotted
beer,
Cow.
so you know.
Yeah, otherwise
I
I'd
don't
chug
drink
it.
beer.
It'd
They
be
all
fun.
taste the same.
That is absolutely not true.
Oh my goodness.
But everyone, thank you all for joining us here at the protest. We've got more coming. We always got more coming. We'll go from here.
Can I
you
just
all
see?
been awesome.
Can I just see the
You said what?
notorious FTC shirt?
Oh yeah.
All right.
It's great.
Send that to Lena.
It's great.
I know she loves my stuff. I know she loves my work. I'll see y'all.
All right.
Stick around for
Thank
a few
you.
minutes. We're
Thanks for doing this,
stream.
guys.
Everyone.